And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another special edition of the Michael Decon program. And yes, we are running late, and right now joining me on the phone is Mr. Brad Olsen. Brad, how are you?
Hey, Michael, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. I've been looking forward to having a conversation with you for a long time.
Yes,
really
sir.
Love your show and glad to be here.
Yes, thank you so much, and I'm glad you were very patient with me and Mr. Myke Hideous right here. We had lots of technical difficulties, but that sort of happens when you're trying to do a live show.
That is one of the pitfalls.
That's right. So, Brad, what's going on out there where you are, here in my own backyard?
Yeah, I'm up in NorCal. You're in SoCal. We're having beautiful weather out here. I just came off the ski mountain, too, and they're getting a little bit of snow up there. So March is my favorite month in California. You can really do everything. You can ski in the morning and drive out to the coast and even surf by sunset. I just love it out here, and it helps me with my work and staying clear and staying fit. So that's a good life out here. But I grew up in the Midwest, and I am going out to Illinois this summer to see friends and family and do a little business with my book distributor.
I'm sure you don't miss it out. I'm sure you don't really miss it out there, Brad.
It's good once in a while in small doses, but I prefer to be here. Yeah, you're right.
That's right. There we go. Some honesty.
Always. 100%.
Yes.
No reason to fib or stretch the truth about anything. And the subjects you guys get into are very important. And we have to have high integrity when we speak about these things because people are not getting information through the mainstream. It's pretty much known that it's Mockingbird controlled by the global elite who want to steer the narrative in the direction that they want us to think and go. And it's really a mind capture. So to have free-thinking minds who can deconstruct some very complex subjects is good. Kudos to you guys.
Yes, thank you so much for that. And of course, Mr. Olsen, you own a publishing company, and you are a respected author in your own right. And your books, many people have recommended your books to me time and time again, even before our own conversation here, Brad. So I have known about you for several years, and we'll get into that in a moment here. And of course, for those that don't know, Brad has also appeared on television and countless radio shows throughout time. So yes, once again, I do want to thank you, Brad, for being a part of the program here. There's plenty to discuss. And Brad, how did you even get involved in this sort of esoteric realm?
Do you want the 30-second short answer or a couple minutes?
Hit me brief here.
To be brief, hit you brief.
Yes, sir.
Short answer is it's something I've very much been interested in. I started my travel writing career going to places and also seeing that many of these locations, let's take the Great Pyramids, for example, have an enormous esoteric story to tell. Much more that I could put into the treatment I was doing in travel guidebooks like the Sacred Places series I did prior to the esoteric series of books. So these are the subjects that are really the ones that have been hidden from humanity. In fact, that's the nature of the word esoteric, is that which is hidden, similar to a cult, known and operated through by a select few who have known many of these subjects, going all the way to back to Babylon, mystery schools, to Egypt, the Greek mystery schools as well. Information has always been withheld from the masses of the people. But now as we enter this great awakening, I do believe all that has been hidden will be revealed. And that's why gentlemen like you guys, Michael and Myke, to deconstruct this stuff and talk about it night after night is really good for everybody to come to understand. But I came through it a different way through the book field.
Very nice. And also, thank you for sending me a copy of your book, Beyond Esoteric. It's quite entertaining. It's about 482 pages long. I haven't read all of it, by the way. Mostly, though, I ran through it pretty quickly. It's a bit of a page turner, as they say.
That's good to hear. I'll take that as a blurb from the Myke and Decon show.
Oh, it's good. It's a really good book. I am not just kissing your ass here, Brad. I really did enjoy your book. And
thank you.
By the way, I have to ask you, what kind of writer are you, Brad? Are you someone who enjoys your coffee while you're typing away, or are you a bit into the alcohol like many of the legendary writers from history?
Pretty much stay off the jackass juice.
Really?
Now, a beer now and again, but not really ever had the taste for alcohol. I do like red wine or wine with a good meal.
Nice, okay.
But no, I'm not really a drinker. It's funny you asked that question, Michael, because yesterday I was driving back from Tahoe with a good friend of mine and talking about these esoteric series. I said, where do you get all this information? How do you do it? And I just said, I'm a collector of things. And it also helps to have a photographic memory. So when things strike me as very interesting, I'm on it. And I'm recording it, and I'm writing it down, and I'm planning on using it when I feel it fits this genre of books. Because these books are really a conglomeration of the last 2 decades, when I do believe the internet has been free till the last year or two when we started entering the age of censorship.
Yeah.
It's been like the Library of Alexandria has reopened, and we can research things on the internet as well and get further data points to try to create this mosaic of some of these very complex subjects. So that's my basic research style, is just a consummate reader, going through stuff, talking to people, interviews, and speaking at conferences. I'll be at the 5D conference in Vegas in 2 weeks.
Very nice, yes. All these things that, we'll sort of bring all these things together here in a moment. All these things you just mentioned here are things I did want to discuss with you. Matter of fact, were you at Contact in the Desert back in 2016, Brad?
I was.
Oh my, I might have seen you out there.
I think we may have met. You do seem familiar to me.
If I was wearing if I was wearing all black, you might have seen me. I look like Andrew Dice Clay out there in the desert.
Cracking jokes too, I'm sure.
Most likely, yes. But that was actually a great time out there back in 2016. I had a great time.
Oh boy, I do miss it out at Joshua Tree too. That was such a cool venue.
Oh yes, lots of interesting folks out there. For those who have not been out there, I definitely recommend it to anyone. And of course, I saw Clyde Lewis out there, and my God, he looked like he was about to drop dead, Brad.
He wasn't handling the heat too well.
Oh,
and that's
no.
maybe part of the reason why they had to move it indoors to Palm Springs.
Right. For those that don't know, he was. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just that they didn't do Contact in the Desert in 2020, and in 2021, I'm on in the virtual world, one of 5 virtual conferences that I'll be doing, but only 2 live so far, and the other one is way out in late August up at Mount Shasta. So hoping the live venues come back again, because I sure miss putting the face to the name. You know what I mean?
Right.
Meeting someone like you again, and you go out and out to dinner or doing a sky watch. Do love the connection with people that conferences bring.
Yeah, it's a nice thing. And by the way, just to finish it up here, I felt terrible for him. He was not ready to be out here in Joshua Tree during that time of the year. It gets in the triple digits for those that don't know. So I mean, it's hot as hell. He's from the way up north here in Northern California, right? Or wait, he's not in Northern
Portland. Actually.
He's even higher up. Yeah. So the guy's not used to that. So I saw him randomly, by the way, Brad, and he was drenched in sweat. He looked like he had been swimming in a pool. Poor guy.
Poor guy.
Yeah, man, poor guy. And of course, Brad, you've been on the talk circuit for a while now, and you go to all these conferences, and I know that's quite enjoyable for you. It was for me. And I'm sure it's also nice to be paid for your time and travel with the pandemic and all the new protocols that I'm sure will be implemented in due time. I must ask you, Brad, will you be trying to get back doing the rounds like before?
Oh, for sure. I can't wait for it to lift, if it is going to lift. This thing seems like it was designed to be quite perpetual.
Right.
But I'm ready to go. And there was another one in Sedona the same weekend of the equinox coming up in 2 weeks that I was invited to, but I was double booked. So they pick certain days, and you got to stick to that, just like doing interviews. But it's great to reach out and talk to people, like being on your show and doing a mini conference that way, so to speak, because a lot of them are just going online and virtual anyways.
With the pandemic, did that hurt your momentum like it did everybody else? I'm sure I know the answer to that.
Well, I produced a big street fair event in San Francisco up here called the How Weird Street Fair, and we got canceled 6 weeks out. So about a year ago and a week is when it all started, and we do our event in spring. So that was a wash, and now we can't do it, of course, this spring, but we're looking at September, about 70% chance, so it could turn. But you know the saying, Michael, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. So a lot of the downtime of 2020, I had a lot of time on my hands all of a sudden, not having to produce this event and getting Beyond Esoteric done. And I did. That was like my pandemic project. And it just came out the very end of last year. So I had a lot of updated COVID type information that I could add. And so it is very current with this modern age we're in.
Right. And Texas will be opening very soon, I believe. So I reckon you will be out there as soon as you can. And I'm sure that's good news for you too, Myke.
Well, I don't live in Texas, but yeah.
You could go out there. You never know.
I things are happening here, but not like they should be. Not yet.
Understood. And Brad, I don't know exactly where you stand in terms of COVID-19 and what's been going on the last year now. Brad, can you tell us what your thoughts and opinions are on COVID?
Well, it's very suspect that it came out of Wuhan, China, the same place that has a giant laboratory that was working on these coronavirus strains. And the words that really mean a lot to me that show what a artificial disease this is the way it can go for longer periods of time and infect people, that it was designed to have this long-term effect, that viruses usually show themselves up quite quickly. But in the case of COVID, it has this gain of function, is the term, where it can take a while for this infection. So that would work perfectly in a pandemic type of situation. And that has been the justification for the lockdown. But remember when this all started to happen about a year ago, it's we're going to flatten the curve in 3 or 4 weeks and you take your masks off. Well, that didn't happen. So it's all just coming out right now to me as being very manufactured and planned, and the COVID virus is nothing really to be afraid of. It's over a 99% survival rate. Now we know ivermectin, not pronouncing that right, but also hydroxychloroquine are very adequate. In fact, good for prevention, prophylactic treatment, ivermectin as well, and it also is good to take right when you get it. So I have some. Oh, by the way, I had taken it when I was traveling in Indonesia in the early 1990s to prevent malaria. Lo and behold, I didn't get malaria, never had any side effects. So I'm familiar with this drug, hydroxychloroquine, which is even a better version than the chloroquine that I took about 30 years ago. So my point is, there are solutions to this pandemic, many that have been overlooked, many that have been shadowed, many HCQ plants or their derivative providers being taken out. Big plant in Taiwan blew up mysteriously. Another provider of some of the parts of HCQ in Illinois also blew up mysteriously. So you really can't put much below how low this New World Order agenda will stoop to get their way. And that is to get everybody mandatory vaxxed and what we're taking is admittedly experimental. It says right there on their website of some of these vaccine manufacturers. They hold no liability. You die or you get sick from it, you can't sue them. So it just smacks to me as one big plan. Like David Icke said, there will come a time when all their backdoor dealings of the cabal will come up. These globalists have a world plan, and there is an anti-human depopulation agenda at hand, showing its ugly head. And
I could
COVID
not
is
agree with
the
you
excuse
more.
to it. Well, good. And I think your listeners hopefully will as well, and take this as a warning that they are out to kill us. It is right in your face now. It's not anything we should take less than seriously, because people are dropping dead after they get the vax. Young people, doctors, not just old people they want to eradicate. They want to get rid of 90% of planet Earth. And look, it says right there on the Georgia Guidestones, keep humanity in 500 million person balance. Okay, then what happens to the other 90% of us? They want to off us. So this is information that's going to help people stay alive, quite frankly. We're in self-defense mode, and we have to know what we're up against, or they're going to slaughter us, and it's already happening. So I hope I'm not going to get you in trouble for saying any of this, Michael, with your channel or whatnot, but
you might have already.
I think the truth has to be told.
Yeah, we're going to be kicked off for this, don't worry.
But you brought it up, and I'll tell you what I think as truthfully and knowledgeably as I possibly can.
So, Brad, are you saying the COVID-19 vaccine is not safe and it's not effective? Is that what you are telling me here?
I'm telling you that there are multitudes of elderly people who have died now from the vax, that more so, many hundreds of times more than have died from COVID. And I'm telling you there are many dozens of times more younger people who have died from the vaccine that have died from COVID. It's very dangerous. It is messing with your RNA, going into your DNA, and restructuring you as a human being. This is a very dangerous game that's being played right now. And knowledge is your power, people. You have to understand what this thing is. And don't come to me and say, we believe the science. Well, if you believe the science, go right to their site and see it's an experimental drug. And you're the guinea pig. You really want to do that? Because once you put it in yourself, you can't get it out.
And by the way, Brad, D in the chat room says, I bought one of his, or actually, one of this guy's books, rather, like 5 years ago, but never read it. I'll have to check it out. And Brad, I have to say, some of the things that are going on now, you talked about maybe 3 to 4 years ago, Brad. I recall a number of things you were talking about in the past. So all these things that have come to fruition, Brad, are you at all surprised?
Yes, I have been doing this research for over a decade now.
You've been on the ball.
I have.
Yes, sir.
The first book came out in 2012, followed up right away with 1 and 2 in the Esoteric series. They were really written both together. Modern Esoteric is book 1 and Future Esoteric is book 2. They're now both in second editions and audiobook versions, and they've sold very well. And I have been doing my best to help people understand this and wake people up. And yeah, it's coming to the point now where a lot of this stuff is coming true. But it's not, hey, I told you so, you owe me an apology to all the naysayers. It's, I'm glad you figured it out. Now why don't you try to help be part of the solution here? Because we have a big problem on our hands, and we need all hands on deck right now. So it's kind of like all the naysayers of UFOs, Michael. How long did we have to hear all these naysayers where now even the Pentagon is admitting they're real?
Right.
So people have been vindicated, and this stuff is for real, and we have to pay attention to it. So part of the reason I'm into these subjects is because it's such an urgency that people have to grok this and start to understand the real world we live in, as well as the universe above. And I love that Bill Cooper quote from his UFO Congress talk in 1989, that grainy video. You can still see it on YouTube.
Yes.
And he goes, you put the aliens in the middle of this stuff and you get all the answers. And that's when it does start to coalesce and become crystal clear that there is an alien agenda on this planet, and it is an anti-human depopulation agenda.
What do you think of that,
Until
Mike?
we start, yes.
Well,
we
if
have
I
to
may
wrap our
ask,
head
just
around
one,
it. It's a
I
very
don't
big
want to
concept.
change your subject, Brad, but I do have a question for you. You talk about the virus and how it's a dangerous situation. Now, does this go as far back as during the Trump administration when he was pushing to get this thing created, or just help me understand a little bit more on what you're saying about the antibiotic?
So, as far as the rollout of COVID or the vaccines during the Trump administration, I'm not sure I understand your question.
What you're saying is that the vaccines are killing people. Is that what you're saying?
They're killing more people than COVID is. Yes, I am saying that.
So by saying that, what I'm asking you is, from what I understand, the vaccine was produced during the Trump administration, not during the Biden administration. So my question to you is, are you saying that it is something, this whole agenda of eliminating or a portion of the population, is that from the administration of the Trump era, or I'm a little confused?
It was during his time, of course, but keep in mind that Fauci, I call him Foxy, Fauxie, Falsey, he came out about 2 years before COVID in 2017 and said there will be a deadly virus during the Trump administration. So they're using predictive programming. And I would agree with you that there are elements of it that have come from our own microbiology laboratories at Fort Detrick, Maryland, for example. I would say China is equally as guilty as the United States for releasing this thing. But if you really want to place blame where it's due, it's the globalists. It is the New World Order agenda. You guys remember Scooby-Doo? Remember how they'd always foil the bad guy at the end? And
foiled again.
They'd pull the mask off, right? I saw a hilarious meme the other day, and it was the Great Reset. And there's Fred from Scooby-Doo is like, well, now we're going to see who's behind the mask. And they pull it off, and it's the New World Order seeing eye. And he says, I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling truth seekers.
Meddling kids.
And that's what we're seeing. It's all coming down to, guys. It is these globalists, and they want to off the population. They can control us much better if we're living in balance at 500 million people.
Wow. That is shocking. Absolutely shocking, Brad.
That's right.
I don't think it is really that shocking. It's just following the evidence and seeing what these people are doing is understanding their true agenda.
Let me rephrase that. I mean, what you're saying to me is shocking. It's frightening. And Michael knows how I feel about this because I've been saying for a long time, I think it is something to do with politics. And you're stating what you're stating. It's fascinating. It really is. And it's frightening at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, it is very frightening, and we have to take it seriously. Because, look, it's already stripping us of our livelihoods in so many different ways. It's restricting our freedom of movement. It's whittling down our God-given rights and those written in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Absolutely. We're watching it happen in slow motion. And as I say on the back cover of Modern Esoteric, the revolution is consciousness. We're not going to win by fighting in the streets as it did in the 60s in the Vietnam War. Yes, we do need to mobilize and protest what's going on, but more importantly, we win this when people wake up. And that's the important point I'm trying to make in all this. We have to look at this from the perspective of what this big plan is all about, and it's multifolded. And this also includes what they're doing with geoengineering and chemtrailing, controlling the weather, but also spraying us. But you're looking at also control of the monetary system. The Great Reset is this year, and you know they want to go into crypto, and then they want to get that crypto onto a chip under your skin. Okay? They're also moving towards a one-world religion. One of my authors at CCC Publishing, Leo Lyon-Zagami, I think you've talked to him before, Michael.
Right.
He did a book on the last pope, what we're seeing now in the Vatican, now with the pedophilia stuff and the underground complex there at the Vatican, and all the information and gold and books and treasure they've been hoarding. So this is coming out too, what they're up to. But they want to create a one world religion, and they've already started with this Christianity and Islam. Yeah, let's join those two together. Where do I sign up? That sounds so great. And of course, a one world government. And you see the machinations in the United Nations.
Yes, and
this is how they're moving towards that.
You said a whole lot right there, but I do want to backtrack to UFOs, so we put that topic to rest here before we move on here with you, Brad. But I wanted to ask you, do you think this is a sort of soft disclosure, as they say online?
Oh, it is. It's getting less soft if we're moving towards harder, if that's the way to describe it. Or the drip, drip, drip of disclosure has now become a steady stream. And it is starting to create cracks in the dam that are about to blow wide open. But for anybody who's paying attention and watching what is being revealed and by who, you will start to see that this is a very real phenomenon, and Earth is being watched and monitored by many different races, as well as interacting with ETs. And there are good ones and there are bad ones. This is the whole exopolitics subject. And I often say, don't judge a book by its cover. Don't look at an ET and say, oh, it's got scales, or it's got slits in its eyes, or it's 10 feet tall or 3 feet tall. But what are their intentions?
Blood for acid.
What if the alien has COVID?
Never know. What if they gave COVID to these laboratories?
That too. Yeah. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. But yes,
it has acid for blood.
That too. But it is interesting
service to self
speculate.
Or service to others. That's what it all comes down to.
Yes.
What agenda are they following? One of their own, where they'll just exploit humans and look at us like we do cattle or livestock? I have a chapter in my new book, Beyond Esoteric, called Being Aware of Predatory Species, that addresses this subject. We think we're at the top of the pecking order. We think we're at the top of the totem pole and we control all the natural world below us, but that's not quite the case. And there are service to self ETs that have a taste for human blood. And there are quite a few people who have come out of the secret space program that can attest to this. What we're learning about the underground bases and the human trafficking that's been going on there, as well as some of the older legacy bases, I call them, some of the real old ET bases, such as Dulce, what's going on under there. And I have information about Philip Schneider and the Nightmare Hall at Dulce and the mad science that's going on there. But think of all the victims. Think of all the helpless people that just get abducted here or there, never to be seen or heard from again, to the tune of 40,000 a year in the U.S. Just go missing without a trace, you guys. And I just hate to think the terrible fate that many of them face, either their demise in these underground bases, and some are even being traded and going off planet. And you definitely are never going to see them again.
My goodness. And your take on Elon Musk, I must know, especially since he is showing plenty of interest in basically going to Mars and starting a colony there.
There's certain things about Musk I really like, especially his electric cars, getting the fumes out there. But then when he goes to Neuralink and some of the weird things about tapping us into AI and this big brain, it's very suspect to me. I would love to meet him face to face. I think I'm a good character of people, and I can read people in a certain way, call it aura or just the presence of that person, what they're like, how do they make eye contact, that kind of thing. But in lieu of that, I would say he's a boy genius who has struck it rich, and some of his projects are awesome, and some are quite suspect. So I'm not quite sure what to make of him entirely. What do you think of him, Michael?
I'm very suspicious. But then again, I'm suspicious of anyone who has that kind of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
you got to understand too that he's got DARPA behind him, and they're part of that SpaceX project and the alphabet agencies. I think they own these guys. And I live here in Silicon Valley, just not far away, just over the hill. I was there today driving through, and you can see the alphabet agencies, especially the CIA, behind Facebook, behind Twitter. I mean, they're getting their marching orders from these alphabet agencies. And I love the late Anthony Hilder's quote. He's a great investigative journalist, and I quote him in my esoteric guides. He says that the CIA is the enforcement arm of the CFR, who is the Council on Foreign Relations. These are the globalist think tanks that basically steer public and global policy. So if we really want to start IDing who the real culprits in all this is, we can start looking at the billionaires of the world. But even some of those billionaires are getting their marching orders. And now I think we should look at the trillionaire class. And there is one. And they're very wealthy. And they could be the ones who are really calling the shots. But again, perhaps all humans can only attain a certain level. That the real generals are these reptilian ETs who are very good at manipulation and have been part of manipulating humanity for thousands of years. And I love the quote, another Bill Cooper from that UFO Congress. He goes, it was learned and it's known now that aliens have been manipulating humanity through secret societies, witchcraft, magic, the occult, and religion. And if you think about all five of those, secret societies, witchcraft, magic, the occult, and religion, and every one of them has a malevolent ET manipulation, you can see how history has gone over the last few centuries, steering it in the direction that is the best outcome for these reptilian ETs. I do believe when you put the aliens in the middle stuff, you start to get all the answers.
My goodness.
Brad, can I ask you a question real quick? Are you a religious man?
I am a spiritual man. I do believe in reincarnation, and I do believe we're all possessing of a spirit, and I have a reincarnation chapter in my book, Modern Esoteric, citing many, many examples of people having out-of-body experiences or passing away at a hospital and crossing over into another room, witnessing a conversation between only a nurse and a doctor, coming back to life and being able to recall the contents of that conversation. People in India, and I had the great opportunity of traveling the world in my young adulthood and middle life now, and I've been to all 7 continents, including Antarctica. So having a travel perspective to these faraway lands has given me a lot of backbone to my esoteric series of research and writing. And one thing on reincarnation in India, they all believe it there. So they can actually solve crimes sometimes by a child, as soon as they start to be able to talk at 5 or 6, will recall where their body was in the past life and find, and crimes get solved, and even ID the perpetrator. And people get arrested because they're getting ID'd from people they killed who were reborn again. So there's evidence like that it's happening. And when you understand reincarnation in that way, then you're a spiritual person. But religion, again, I think it's been manipulated, and it was in that list of 5 of Cooper things that he said were manipulated by ETs.
But ultimately, you have no religion as far as like Christianity, Judaism, or anything like that.
They say that Buddhism in its purest form is a philosophy, and so is Taoism. And I would say that would be the closest. But I do try to avoid that title of religion. Although I do believe Christ was an ascended master, his teachings are eternal and brilliant, and there was something about that man and the life he lived, which was just a few hundred years after the Buddha, which was this great awakening in 350 BC. You had the Buddha was alive, Confucius was alive in China. At the same time, also Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism. And in the West, you had the blossoming of the ancient Greeks. and their whole structure of a republic, which to this day is an emulated governmental style. So there are periods of great blossoming, and I do believe we're in one now today. But to say a blanket statement like, if I'm religious, I don't think so. But I do follow a lot of religious teachings and try to understand them.
Amazing. And by the way, just to wrap it up with Elon Musk and all that talk there, I did want to ask you a few more follow-up questions to that. And soon we will have these extravagant trips to space. It's a huge money grab, and that will be another step forward to what is to come. And I'm sure all of you out there are familiar with what I'm about to say here, and I know Myke has heard this plenty of times, but the whole luxury space hotel thing that's coming allegedly by next year, Brad. Hypothetically, if you had the money, Brad, you had like $1 million just sitting around, would you take the trip? Well, actually, it's a 12-day trip for this one here, the Aurora Station. It's $9.5 million per person.
Well, when I was doing a lot of travel writing, I was getting on the junkets, the travel trips, press trips, which are usually 100% paid, and sometimes we could stay longer on our own dime and go travel around. So yeah, if I was invited on a press trip to go in outer space, I'd do it.
You would do it.
Sure, wouldn't you guys?
I'm afraid of heights. I'm afraid of heights, Brad, so I might have to take a rain check.
You put that $1 million somewhere better.
Yeah, I mean, well, if I'm sedated, I might make the trip, Brad.
It would be cool to be weightless and experience that, wouldn't it?
Well, it would, yes, but I mean, I would have to be loaded.
That could be arranged.
No doubt. I mean, I can't fly I can't fly sober, Brad. Anytime I'm on a plane, I got to get a bit of a buzz going.
All right.
I freak out.
That's a nervous situation, yeah.
Better.
I freak out. I'm not going to lie to you.
I used to do that too, Michael. When I used to go take flights, I used to take Valium before I went on a plane.
Holy goodness.
Yeah, I had to. It's not so much that I'm afraid of heights when I'm in that plane. I'm afraid of airplanes crashing. That's my phobia.
Yes, that's a very logical and rational phobia to have. But yes, Elon Musk will colonize Mars eventually. The elite know that the Earth will be no more. When is the question? They know the time. Yeah. They know that time is fading fast, Brad and Myke. They know that this is going to be over eventually, and we will have to leave the planet eventually. And when I asked Mr. Lawrence Krauss how the Earth ends, he did not like that conversation one bit. He wanted out.
Well, Michael,
I don't want out.
I don't mean to interrupt, but Michael, according to John Kerry, we only have 9 years left.
Oh, John Kerry, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Just let me know.
According to Al Gore, shouldn't Miami be underwater right now?
Yep.
That's true.
So I wouldn't take what they have to say with a grain of salt. I have a chapter in Beyond Esoteric called Alternative 1, 2, and 3. You guys may have heard this. This goes back to the 1950s, the Brookings Institution, and again these think tanks that are gonna set this world policy, and they're gonna bring in their kangaroo scientists to support such claims. So alternative 1 was they're going to blast holes in the upper atmosphere and let all the pollution escape. Well, they did do versions of that with Operation Argus, which is a nuclear testing that is still top secret. And they were down in the Southern Ocean, just off the coast of Antarctica. And there's a couple theories what they were really doing. And it's interesting, of all the nuclear tests, Argus is still one of the most classified and unreleased. And this is going on in the late 1950s in the Southern Ocean. There is belief amongst myself and others in the Antarctica Nazi base research field who do believe that they were lobbing some nukes over at their New Schwabenland, New Berlin base that had survived after the war, the creation of the Fourth Reich. And we do see what that did here in North America, including Project Paperclip.
Right. Yes.
The Nazis that came over after the war that started NASA, like Werner von Braun and Hermann Oberich. And then you have other Nazis who started the MK Ultra programs, and that too originated in Nazi Germany. That's why it's MK. K control is the German spelling of it. And then you have Reinhard Gehlen, who should have been at the Nuremberg trials on war crime charges. He comes over and he helps start up the CIA. So we've had this Nazi infiltration in America for going on 70 years, and even over that. And then, so what they were doing with Alternative One is blowing these holes in the upper atmosphere. That's what really caused the ozone holes. Remember that big scare in the 1970s that the ozone holes were opening up over Antarctica and it was going to fry us all?
I remember that.
Yes.
I'm old. I remember that.
That was Argus. They were doing really effed up stuff to the planet, and maybe as a cover to bomb Base 211.
Ahead of my time, yes, but I do recall reading that, and more present now, more in the present time, we had world leaders go out there. Excuse me. Yeah. What was that all about, Brad? We saw Obama, we saw Buzz Aldrin, we saw all the top talent go out there.
John Kerry on election day.
The ghoul.
I think he'd have better things to do to help his party get elected in 2016. Yeah, that was the period they all went, and as well as Patriarch Kirill, the highest religious leader in the Eastern Orthodox. And that was around the time that they had made a big discovery in Saudi Arabia. And it may have something to do with Mecca. And they found something like similar to an Ark of Covenant, some kind of divine archaeological piece, but it turned out to be very dangerous. And Putin knew about it too, and they wanted to just get rid of it. So they brought it down to Antarctica on Russian ships, I believe, right out of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Or they took it to the Red Sea, and the Russians picked it up, took it down there, and then Patriarch Kirill had to bless it. So that's the backstory on that. But then you have all these people right around the same time, including Prince Harry, who did a week-long cross-country trip at the South Pole.
Oh, wow.
And it's only about a couple dozen miles from the South Pole is the presumed massive entrance under the ice. And what are you doing for a week up on the polar plateau? Because there's nowhere to go. There's no mountains. There's just 2 miles of an ice cap over Antarctica. Well, if they were going to see this hole, there'd be something to do. And this is the hole that Admiral Byrd, who's also a pilot, found in the 1930s and flew his plane into it. He saw it was such a massive hole, he felt comfortable dropping the plane into it, circling around and coming out. Some of the things that he wrote in his journal are absolutely fantastic.
You sure that wasn't Nancy Pelosi's mouth?
Silenced. Say again?
You sure that wasn't Nancy Pelosi's mouth that he flew that plane around in?
Yeah,
we can't confirm that.
It's a gaping hole too, right?
Yes, we can't confirm or deny those claims there. But more recently, Brad, life was found beneath the Antarctic ice sheet there. I'm sure you read all about that. Very odd that they found life out there in a very unusual sort of environment, far from sunlight.
Yeah. I'm giving my Hidden Anomalies of Antarctica talk at the 5D events 2 weeks from today, actually, in Las Vegas.
Nice.
And these are all fascinating findings. Yeah, so they're digging down, drilling down, bringing up samples and finding, and this is also in the fossil record of Antarctica, fossils, tropical plants, tropical living animals, including 2 dinosaur species that have only been found in Antarctica. So it was absolutely a much different climate down there than it is today. It was a steamy jungle at one time, and it was also connected in Pangaea to the other continents. and there is in the fossil record an overflow of species that have lived in Antarctica and Australia, for example, or rolling over into Asia as well as Africa. So that is good proof that the continents do shift around, and Antarctica was once a steamy jungle, and many people believe that it could have been also parts of Atlantis.
That's what I hear.
The western Antarctica side.
Part of Lemuria, you hear things like that as well.
I have to say something.
Go ahead, Mike, jump in there. Don't be scared.
I'm sorry, but based on what I have understood all these years is that Antarctica is not land, but frozen water. Whereas the North Pole, there's land under the ice and snow. But I always thought Antarctica was simply frozen water.
I think it's the other way around. The North Pole is
then
that
I
way.
Stand corrected.
There is land, and I stood on it. I climbed on land, and there are soaring mountains. Western Antarctica, where I visited just over 2 years ago, is absolutely stunningly beautiful in its stark contrast of just white glaciated black mountains and the blue of the ocean and the blue of the sky. You really don't see many earth hues. You don't see much life that's green down there. It's very otherworldly. But I can assure you that there's very big land masses in Antarctica.
Don't you wish we had a time machine of sorts? I would have loved to have seen Egypt in its prime when there was actually grass all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and steamy jungle, run around dinosaurs above and below the water. So we got to visit the Palmer base, and there they have a replica of a fossil of the plesiosaur, more commonly known as the Loch Ness Monster.
Loch Ness Monster.
Lived in Antarctica,
Crazy.
Yep.
Good old Nessie. What were you going to say, Mike? I'm sorry, I cut you off there.
No, that's okay, Michael. Go on. Go ahead. It's okay.
Very nice. But yes, a time machine would be nice, theoretically, but you know, so much to see throughout time, and history repeats itself, Brad. You could point at anything right now. For instance, UFOs, they were popular back in the 40s and 50s. There was a big bloom of sorts, and then that died down, and then it got popular back in the 90s, and that died down, and here we are full circle, Brad. So history does repeat itself.
There we go.
You think it died down, Michael? Right. I think the UFO thing kept going. I mean, when I was a young boy in the 70s.
Well, it's on Fox News now, Mike. You know, it's mainstream. Yeah, it's headline now. It's prime time news. So gotcha. Yeah, my friend. I think it's the popularity. Just it's big time now, Mike. It's huge.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So
and it's earth changing. It is the biggest story of planet Earth right now. We have been visited. We've made contact. It's been going on for decades. So why this isn't on every History Channel, documentary, PBS, making big news out of all these revelations is beyond me, because it is still a controlled mass media. They're still trying to slow that drip, drip, drip or trickle now into a controlled narrative. See, that's so very important to these globalists. They need to control the narrative more so than they even need to print the money, but certainly that helps to pay for these news, quote, fake news media sources that peddle this stuff. So just my word to your listeners, anybody that's getting their news still from the mainstream media, this is the corporate narrative. This is what they want you to think and believe to shape your reality. Because you see, we're all free-willed individuals. We can all just turn it off and just say, ugh, it's garbage. Can't even watch it anymore personally. And every time I do, it's 24/7 COVID coverage. Last time I was in an airport a couple months ago, I was stuck there for 90 minutes. I'm like watching CNN, and certainly they're going to say something other than COVID.
Sure.
Certainly there's something else going on in the world they can talk about. I'm telling you guys.
Sure. They talk about how much they hate Trump.
They
continue to say that.
Say again?
I'm sorry. All I said was that they continue to talk about how much they hate Trump, which was 24/7 when he was the president.
Right.
Right, because he said something like, "Oh, HCQ works. I take it. No, jump on him. He's not following our narrative." That's why they hated him so much. He was the first president since Kennedy that went off script, that they didn't have fully controlled, that was doing things as a president should, not as the globalist puppets were trained to do.
Right.
And Brad and Myke, let me ask you this question. I should have asked you this earlier, but let me start with you, Brad. Brad, how do you think the Earth will end?
I think the more appropriate question is, how will the human race end?
Yes.
And that's probably going to be quite through the folly of humankind. I think the world will go on. Life has a way of being very tenacious.
And
clinging on and redefining itself.
The planet will be fine without us, yes.
Yeah, but we'll be the victims of our own folly if we have a full exchange of nuclear war or keep bombing Syria and let that escalate. I mean, it's just ridiculous. There should never be any more war or killing. But this is how they keep us in a state of fear. This is what pays for the armaments and the military-industrial complex we've been warned about for decades from the time of Eisenhower. They just game us so much. People go along with this and believe that their story of how things go, let alone all the false flags that have been perpetrated on people to keep this narrative going and to keep us in this state of fear. Because when you're in a state of fear, your cognitive abilities do not work in the same way. When you're in a state of gratitude or higher emotional states, they can't get through to you. And when people start waking up, when they start adapting these higher emotional levels, their whole narrative program breaks down. You cannot keep wrapping lies around the pillar of truth, putting lipstick on a pig. It just doesn't work anymore for people that are awakened.
Love that. And Myke, what about you? What's your opinion, your thoughts and opinions on this matter? How humanity will end? Go ahead.
As a young man, I used to always think that it was going to be a nuclear war that would strike humanity down. Now I have sort of three different ideas that it could be. Number one, obviously there is the possibility of war, but I think that's third on the list. Second, I think would be a virus, and one will be a meteor strike.
Was the virus human-made, or?
I can't answer. All I can say is that I know that there will come a time where there's a possibility that a virus may come, from the scum of the earth, and basically we will be unable to control it. And I think there's again, this is all possibility. I watch a lot of science programs, a lot of programs about space and that sort of stuff. And every time I hear scientists talk about how the Earth will end, it's either a rock with our name on it or a minute cell that we will not be able to control. That's what I always hear, and that's sort of what I've come to believe now. So even though I still think there's a possibility of nuclear war and us destroying them ourselves, I still think there is a possibility that if we blow off every nuclear bomb in the world and destroy humanity, there's still going to be those few that survive and will carry on into the future. But I think there are bigger things ahead for us. This planet will shake us off like a bunch of fleas.
Right.
Like George Carlin once said, "The Earth is not in trouble; humanity is."
Agreed.
I think the sun's going to take us all.
Oh, there's no doubt the sun will eventually everything will come to an end.
The sun is going to get us, and that's why I think all the greatest minds want to get off this island Earth, Brad.
Yeah. Well, that was alternative 3, and I didn't quite finish all those other scenarios. Alternative 2 was the deep underground military bases. And Philip Schneider was digging down, and they got into some alien bases. It's like Swiss cheese below our feet. And you know how we've always been taught to train, to think, to look to the skies look for the extraterrestrials coming down in their
Right.
ships from faraway places. What about right below our feet? What
Good
about
point.
inner terrestrials? And then some of those inner terrestrials are ultra-terrestrials that have abilities to phase in and out of this third-dimensional reality up into 4D and sometimes 5D and higher. Those were called the etherics in the 19th century in occult circles, when you would do a seance and an apparition would appear. So we've been tapped into the other dimensional ultra-terrestrials as well for quite a long time. But alternative 3, that is the off-planet plan. That's what you guys are talking about, if the world's going to end. And they were brainstorming this back in the 1950s. They did a show in the UK called Alternative 3 on the Science Channel. It would be like our version of Nova on PBS doing a show. It appeared on April 1st, right? So they said, oh, it was an April Fool's joke. But it was called Alternative 3, and it was so realistic. Everybody was calling into the station and thinking that their missing scientist relatives have gone off planet. Because that ultimately was the plot of the show, is that this brain drain was getting these scientists to sign up and go off planet, and you'd never hear from them again. And they were creating a colony on the moon, but more importantly on Mars. And they were also in the process of terraforming that planet and making it more Earth-like. And that science is absolutely there. We can start to terraform planets.
Yeah.
So when the talk of overpopulation, look, what if we started terraforming Mars? Maybe millions or billion people would volunteer to go.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean about
free land.
That's why I brought up Elon Musk. It's almost like he knows something.
Yeah.
So you never know. You never know.
Tapping into a way to make money off it.
Or that too. The grift is very strong with some of these folks, indeed. And by the way, Lilith in the chat room, anytime we talk about the end times and, the world coming to an end, she always mentions Yellowstone. And rightfully so. Yellowstone is also a red flag.
Yes, sir.
Rightfully so.
And that's not the only super volcano either. There's other ones in the world, but
yes,
obviously we know so much about Yellowstone, and that is a big frightening.
It's a ticking time bomb.
I was just about to say it's a big frightening bomb.
Showing signs of activity more so than in the past decades. In recent years, more tremors, more activity with the geysers there. And I've been there. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. But boy, is that a sleeping time bomb. She's absolutely right. So this is a good segue into HAARP and weather manipulation, because HAARP can create and trigger earthquakes. And it's my understanding they have been trying to trigger Yellowstone and get that to go off. That could be one of these end game scenarios.
Where is HAARP located?
It is located mostly in Wyoming, but it does extend over a little bit into Idaho and Montana. It's right up where those 3 states meet. But most of Yellowstone National Park is in Wyoming, and it's huge. It's one of the largest national parks in the country.
By the way, Brett, I got to ask you, what is the biggest quake you've been a part of?
Oh, right here at Santa Cruz, the Loma Prieta earthquake in 1989, which was a 7.1. And it was incredible. Never forget that.
Yes, sir.
And I had just moved out from Illinois. The house started shaking. Stuff started flying off the walls. My first very irrational thought was, King Kong is shaking the house. This little wooden cottage I was at with my girlfriend and buddy, and we were about to go out and play basketball. And then I thought, no, John's throwing the ball against the wall and stuff's flying off. And then all of a sudden, they're all native Californians. They're like, earthquake! Run to the door. We get out to the street, and all the light poles and utility poles are just shaking, bam, 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 just like you'd see in the movies.
That's right.
Then the coolest thing of all, I thought, was these rollers that were just coming across the road and making the street and sidewalk buckle, and you can see them coming. And I'm like, this kid right from the Midwest just got out here. I'm like, wow, that's so cool. I'm laying down and feeling them, and have them roll over me.
That's right. You saw the waves come at you.
Oh my God!
Yes, sir.
Oh man, I would have had to take a whole bottle.
But then people were crying and panicking and very upset because either their houses could be destroyed within a minute. I remember there was this one old lady that had all these really cute ceramics in the window, and they all fell to the floor and dropped, and she was in tears.
Oh, poor lady.
And then we saw the clouds billowing up from downtown Santa Cruz from the fires that had been triggered. And then we realized, wow, this is serious. And, of course, all the power went out for about a week.
Yeah, that's always terrible.
So, I'll tell you, the lesson learned from that, you guys, I have never seen grocery stores go as quickly bare within an hour or two after that earthquake. So when it happens quick. And when people fear shop, they'll just clear the shelves.
That's
and
true.
then, of course, looting follows for whatever's left.
And you know, I've said this to Michael countless times. When we had the scare with the COVID, what went first? Freaking toilet paper. I mean, who hoards toilet paper? I mean, you know, if I was going to hoard, the first thing I would hoard would be ammunition and water. And I'll wipe my ass with a leaf if I have to, but I mean, toilet paper? Come on.
Yeah.
Well, some people aren't the smartest.
I didn't mean to be crude, guys.
You know.
I didn't mean to be crude.
Some people aren't very smart, Myke, you know.
It just goes to show you, like, how stupid people can be. Why would you hoard toilet paper when the necessities are water, ammunition, and then, of course, food following? But once you've got a gun with ammunition, you can pretty much get anything you want.
Yes, the lack of common sense always on display. But yes, the biggest quake I experienced was a 7 point. They say it's a 7.2, but it said 7.3 on my phone back in 2010 Easter. That big quake out here in Southern California. It was terrible. Very reminiscent of what you had experienced yourself there, Brad.
The Ridgecrest one on 4th of July?
It was Easter Sunday, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Back in 2010, yes. But same thing. People were running outside their house. They were crying. I saw the wave of pavement going up and down.
Wow.
Cool.
It was very cool. It was just like out of a horror movie. You're right.
Yeah.
You know what, Michael?
Go ahead.
Brad said before when I forget where he said, in Yellowstone.
Yellowstone, right?
That it's beautiful. It's so beautiful, but it is an interesting thing about chaos and destruction when it's in such a gigantic form. It is beautiful. When planets when suns explode into novas and quasars,
or when a volcano erupts, yes,
it's just beautiful.
That's true.
But it's chaos and destruction.
Yeah, the people of Hawaii don't feel that way.
A full solar eclipse. I'm not sure if you guys caught that a couple summers ago. I drove up right towards Yellowstone on the border in Idaho and saw it with my dad and Ryan Gable, who does a talk show host called Secret Teachings, and my uncle. And it was amazing. And it occurred to me that all these natural phenomenons, as they interact with Earth and nature, like all the animals went still during the eclipse. And it was the coolest thing because right in the middle of the day, covers the sun, you could start seeing all the stars in the sky during totality for just a couple minutes.
Nice.
But all on the horizon, it was like sunrise. You could see light out still. It's the trippiest thing. You got to see one to believe it. But it occurred to me that all natural phenomenons fall on a scale of how benign they are. This one being the most. No one or no animals got hurt. But each natural phenomenon, volcanoes, certainly there's going to be casualties if it's a bad one, earthquakes as well. And all the way up, and the hardest being, say, a pole shift, where the poles change 45 degrees and all the continents start moving around, and then we got everything, tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanoes going off, continents dropping, and this could be what led to the demise of Lemuria civilization and Atlantis, as we were talking earlier in the show, Michael.
Right.
That there are ruins under the water, and I have pictures of several sites in Modern Esoteric in Lost Continents chapter. So this is very real, and we have to understand that civilization has been on this planet for millions of years. Edgar Cayce goes back and does some of his readings, and he would wake up from these trances and not even know what he's talking about or saying. And sometimes it would contradict with his very strict Christian beliefs. And he said, I'd say, what? But he would talk about Atlantis and said that it was several phases when it sank, but that these civilizations had lived concurrently with dinosaurs. Like they were high-tech civilizations when this was a wild tropical planet, and perhaps did not even have polar ice caps, that it was much hotter and steamier. And so maybe Antarctica had aspects of that as it was moving down to its present location. So these high-tech civilizations have also left clues, sometimes million-year-old seams of coal, and I have pictures of this in Modern Esoteric too, found in Russia of these perfectly shaped gears. Other artifacts such as the Anthitherian device that was found in a shipwreck in the Mediterranean Sea is like a high-tech computer.
Yeah.
So many of these relics been found, suggesting that high-tech civilization has been here a long time.
Yeah, that makes no sense. A lot of these artifacts that were found like that, it's dubbed the oldest computer, I believe.
Right.
Yep.
And they can't figure out how it works or what its purpose was.
And countless other examples of
plenty
other artifacts. Then when you factor in all the evidence for giants, including these elongated skulls, the cone heads are sometimes called. I do one of my talks. I'll be speaking on it Sunday at 5D events in Vegas.
With L.A. Marzulli or who?
No, I have a talk of my own that I present slides and evidence of, and he does talk about it as well as Hugh Newman and Jim Vieira, and I know those guys. But there's so much evidence, it has room for many people to speak of it, because these heads are so different. They don't have the cranial suture that goes through the middle of the head as we have. So their heads are quite different. And then they're much larger, especially towards the rear and above, so that the cranial capacity is 30% larger than a modern human skull. You put them side by side, and these things are massive. And bigger brain, bigger body, bigger ideas or thoughts or
bigger
civilization.
Problems, yes.
Bigger problems.
Bigger problems.
Bigger problems, perhaps, too. And you just can't shape a skull. I don't care how many times you wrap it or put a board on it and move it around. You cannot add 30% more cranial capacity. You can't add brain matter, right, when you flatten a skull, as many civilizations have done, as we saw in National Geographic when we were kids. The Flathead Indians in Idaho as well. But you can't add cranial capacity. So what we're talking about is human-like, but not human. And this evidence is coming out now, too. So we're talking about the disclosure movement, and I do believe coming to terms with giants, as well as other kind of ET species, including dwarves. There are dwarf species that were found in the island of Flores in Indonesia.
Midgets, by the way.
Yeah, they were. Are they the ones that were called the hobbits when they were discovered? Also, I think on that same island, they found miniature elephants and I believe miniature horses.
Yeah,
I hate midgets.
So
by the way,
different.
Just got to say that. Continue. Sorry.
Oh, just that it was even featured in Nature magazine, and fully grown women 3 feet tall, men 3.5 feet tall. So truly, miniature humans, just as you have these giants going up 9, 10, 12, 14 feet, some even perhaps even larger.
Well,
so
you know, Brad, I'm sorry, go ahead. You were saying?
Oh, just that to look at them as perhaps progenitor races that mixed with Homo sapiens off on their own limb of the evolutionary tree, or were we a creation, amalgamation of proto-humans like Cro-Magnon with our DNA mix? This is the whole concept behind Zecharia Sitchin.
Like the Sumerians, right?
Right.
Well,
that the human race was created to work the gold mines and be a slave race that was smart enough to take orders and dig out the gold, but dumb enough not to question authority. And why do you think in religion we always refer to God as a lord, like a landlord, a controller? Well, this could be these very tall Anunnaki and Nephilim mixed offspring ET races here on Earth, and the evidence is there for it.
Well, I can't rule it out. Go ahead, Myke.
If I may, the one thing, the theory I read about with the hobbits, and I don't mean real hobbits, I mean these hobbits that we're talking about here that were on the island, is that when a species is first of all, these specimens were very old, and they say that they could have been secluded on this island for probably as long as their existence was around, as well as the miniature elephants, as well as the miniature horses. And what they say is, and again, this is theory, that when a species is secluded in a certain area, in this case an island, that they grow smaller to adjust to their needs, their what am I trying to say? Their everything that's available to them on that island that they can eat from and feed off of. Their bodies grow to suit that environment. That's the theory I read. And Brad, you just mentioned the Nephilim, which to me, I mean that is a religious thing. That's Old Testament.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not saying we don't discount what is in the Bible or the Quran or Buddhist teachings. There's gems of truth and fuller understanding in all these ancient scripts and documents and books. And we have to have a large overview to incorporate them all into a correct worldview of what people knew at what time, and working into our own modern philosophy of all these things. So yeah, I would quote the Bible quite a bit and some of the things in there. And they do talk about giants, of course, and the men of renown.
The Nephilim are the offspring of angels who copulated with humanity, women.
Right.
Or so
but who
said.
Were those angels, or in the angelic realm, that's almost like a ultra-terrestrial, not quite physical. But it did speak of, in the Sumerian text, of the Anunnaki, who then, from heaven to earth they came, saw that the women were fair, and mated with them. And then this is interpreted further that this is the genetic combining of perhaps alien ET with proto-human DNA.
And for the same argument, you can throw in the fact that there have been not a fact, but a theory again, that there were angels who came to mankind in the early being of mankind that taught them how to create weapons of war and weapons. And items to farm and makeup and mathematics and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's all there.
So they say.
Yeah.
My goodness. But yes, it's been a wonderful evening here with you, Brad. I know it's almost time for you to get going here. I know you have another interview to do in a moment here, pretty soon.
I've got about 30 more minutes if you want to keep going.
Sure. If you still have more time, we could continue. It's just I thought we might have to wrap it up here pretty soon. I know you have
just at the top of the hour.
Okay, well, we'll continue.
I'll have to go.
No worries. And Brad, I must ask you, I know you go down the conspiracy rabbit hole, but are there any conspiracies that you just sort of shake your head at?
Oh, quite a few.
Okay.
I know that the world is not flat, for example, because I've been to Antarctica.
Yeah, you've been there, so you didn't hit the ice
polar
wall.
region. And my 3-year trip around the world, I traveled in one direction and ended up back home.
So that one I've never ascribed to, and sorry for all your listeners, but I've been to Antarctica. There's no ice wall. It's a continent, and Captain Cook sailed around it in the 17th century.
I'm shocked.
Without ever touching land, and knowing that the southern continent was always there, as well as the ancient Greeks. The way it got its name was there is a constellation over our northern hemisphere in the Arctic region of Arctos. So Antarctica was the opposite of Arctos, the constellation, hence the name from the time of the ancient Greeks, who always postulated that there must be a southern continent to balance out the weight of all the northern continental land masses.
That's interesting.
And if you look at the globe, we really live on a water planet. There's only 21% of the planet's surface is land. 79% is water. So it's really an ocean planet. And getting around those oceans has always been viewed by the stodgy historians as a barrier, whereas David Hatcher Childress, one of the stars of Ancient Aliens, I've known him for many years, been friends. I knew him and Giorgio Tsoukalos before they were famous. I was even driving the car when Giorgio proposed to David to be on the first pilot for Ancient Aliens on the Crystal Skulls. We always joke about that. And I've been on a few episodes as well.
Can you believe that show's been on as long as it has, Brad?
Yeah, I know. But one of the major premises, and this is how it gets into archaeology on that show, is that the oceans were really highways. And so the theory of cultural diffusion is using the oceans and this water planet to get around, as the Egyptians did, as Thor Heyerdahl proved in his book, which I loved as a kid, both the raw expedition of sailing across the Atlantic in Egyptian ships, but also Kon-Tiki going across the Pacific, the opposite way that we've always been told Polynesia was contacted, going across the ocean from South America to the center. And I do a talk on the mysteries of South America, and I show how Easter Island heads, those Moai statues, are very similar to what you'll find in Tiwanaku and other statuary of the pre-Inca culture in South America. So a lot of our prehistory is being questioned right now, and seeing that the ancients did have a huge amount of technology at their disposal, such as we can see in the Great Pyramid, still trying to figure out all those components, how it was built, how the rocks were brought into place, and how spread out humanity became using the oceans as their highways. So this is what I ascribe to as well, of cultural diffusion. And I did my Sacred Places books, and I was just amazed when I was looking into Native American lore, culture, their habits, and even the way they structured their government. The League of the Longhouses of the Iroquois is exactly the same as the Vikings were structuring theirs, and how the Norse were the real discoverers of North America. That is, if you can discover a continent that's already populated with millions of people. But forget about Christopher Columbus. To his dying day, he thought that he landed off the islands of India. He never even knew his entire life that he would be the supposed founder and discoverer of the New World.
You know, if I may, just for a moment, I actually have been seeing and reading some very interesting things about the Knights Templars, who allegedly, very possibly, may have crossed the Atlantic to get away from persecution in, I believe it was the year 1100, when they were being persecuted by the church, and the possibility of them actually having come to the New World in Nova Scotia and even the tip of, or as we know it now, where Canada meets America, the border, and they may have found carvings in rocks, and there's possibly a building that may have been structured by them. So that it's possible that the Knights Templars were actually the discoverers of the New World before the Vikings.
Well, they would actually have been a little bit after, because the Vikings were around 1000 A.D.
Was it? Oh, okay. Then I stand corrected.
Leif Erikson. And I do know the building you're talking about. It's the Newport Tower. I visited there and wrote it up in my book, Sacred Places North America. And it's very interesting because it does imitate buildings in Scotland and in England. It's an old mill, it could be, but it's also a lighthouse. And so when I was visiting there in Newport, Rhode Island, there are some inscriptions in Old Norse. So I'm tending to believe that they built it, that the Vikings had their Vinland colony very close to there. But I went across the street and there was an antique book dealer, and I got to talking to him, and he was convinced that it was the Knights Templar. But there are also other, you mentioned petroglyph sites carved into the rock that are very reminiscent and could only have come from Europe, some of the designs you see. Just like in the Southwest, we have so many inscriptions that look like UFOs or ETs, as well as in Australia. A lot of Aboriginal cultures around the world depict this stuff. So I have this great picture in my book that says, they saw, and it shows on one side like a craft and then a petroglyph inscription of a UFO. They came and they recorded it, including these big bug-eyed creatures that we now know as grays. You find these all around the world, these representations of what we now would describe as a gray alien type creature. So it just shows that this goes way back, and a lot of evidence that we have been contacted for a long time here on the planet.
Yeah, it's weird, especially when you look at pyramids from around the world. You have them in Egypt, Mexico, Indonesia, France, here in America as well, Italy. The list goes on, but it's very weird when you start seeing all these sort of what was I going to say here? I think I remember there being like even metal clamps of sorts, and some of these megaliths in India, Bolivia,
the
Japan, all over the place. You see these markings. Yep. Yeah, it's very weird.
They're called the T-clamps, and they're in the rock, right. And you see them at Tiwanaku as well on some of the megalithic blocks, as well as all around Peru, that they would pour molten metal in, and it would hold the megaliths together. And you're right, Michael, you can find them in places all around the world, just like you can find pyramids all around the world. What's up with that?
Very odd.
Why were all the ancients building in the same structural form?
I think they didn't know how to make condos back then.
They were trying.
Their condos consisted of giant pyramids with like 2 or 3 rooms in the whole thing.
And by the way, the Sphinx also.
Sphinx.
The Sphinx all over the world as well.
Many varieties of the Sphinx as well. I saw them in Cambodia, of course, in Egypt, and a newly discovered one in Romania that a lot of people are talking about, and is associated with very old underground bases in Romania.
Wow.
Yeah, that's Peter Moon's work. He was one.
Talk like Dracula.
Yeah, that's where he's from. That's the Transylvania region is a real area of Romania.
And by the way, Brad, going back into more of the esoteric realm, more of the spiritual sort of realm here, you brought up religion earlier, and I just wanted to ask you, if Jesus was alive today, rather, would he be considered like a hippie? I ask this question all the time.
Oh, I'd say he probably would be.
So he's
long
like
hair and the beard and the.
So he's like a liberal, in other words.
Yeah. I don't know,
it's
but
not
I think you would transcend politics. I really do. When you start getting into that upper knowledge that he was in, it transcends all of the silly politics that we make up here in the world. I don't think that would matter to him as much.
Understood. And what do you make between the sort of relationship between science and religion right now? You see this very tumultuous relationship between science and religion, especially here in America. Your thoughts and opinions, Brad, and you too, Myke. I want your take on this as well.
Well, it is the ultimate merging of science. I would say more with spirituality, but it is a very fine line we're walking here. It's the razor's edge, because on the one hand, we could have this incredible merging with mind and machine and really enhance the human population to levels it's never before seen, really going into human 2.0. But on the other hand, it could be the potential of the machines taking over in a way. Either the robot wars or AI is even a scarier prospect of how it could start taking over all forms of our civilization. So we're at a very, very transitional moment in the entire course of human history, where we're going to go with this. Of course, I want to see humanity go into the golden age and create a utopian-like environment, 1,000 years of peace. But as you guys know, it could flip the other way. And we were talking earlier in the show about disasters and human-made disasters, and that's not out of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, that's true. And of course, what if computers took over the world? Another possibility in here in this realm that we live in, that could happen. You do have a chapter in your book about that.
There
as
are
well.
many scientists who believe that AI is seriously not the right way to go.
A serious threat to humanity, yes, indeed.
That's right, because once AI becomes aware, and I'm not saying it's going to happen right away, but if in the event that they do create it, there's a possibility that AI, and I'm not the only one that's saying this is what I've heard. Scientists have said that if AI becomes aware, it can then, just like Terminator and
Skynet,
Skynet, where they start building themselves and eventually eliminate humanity because there's no use for humanity. Let's face it.
Right.
I don't mean to sound grim, but to a machine, humanity is simply an obstacle, a plague, a giant case of fleas,
a virus.
A virus.
Yes, sir.
And the AI is a serious concern to some scientists who believe that if it becomes aware, humanity could very well be in deep shit.
And that's true. And of course, we do have sex robots on the horizon that are very advanced with their AI as well.
Just what we need.
Knock yourself out, guys. AI robot sex.
It's all happening, though.
Just what we need.
It is happening, and that's what's scary about it.
Yeah. We joke around, but it's actually coming to fruition.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nuts. Very, very insane world we live in, Mr. Brad Olsen. I like saying your full name. I'm not sure why.
No, it's fine.
It's a very official name, Brad Olsen.
Is it?
Yeah,
I thought it was kind of common growing up in the Midwest. There was a lot of Olsens. We were like the Joneses or the Smiths.
The Joneses, that's funny.
There's a lot of Scandinavians there.
There's lots of authority in your name for some odd reason. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, you could be in court, Mr. Olsen.
Yeah, he's like a
stand, sir.
He's like a judge. By the way, Brad, another random question for you here. What does it mean to live in the present moment?
Oh, well, be here now. I love that Ram Dass quote. It's the name of his book even, and it's such a powerful statement. Because if you're in the moment, you're not thinking and worrying about the future. You're not concerned with what you've done in the past. You're living in the moment. And in the moment, you have your greatest breakthroughs, with free will, of being able to define your course, and most importantly, to stay happy. It's worked so well for me. I've never been depressed a day in my life, and I've always been very present. And it's gotten me out of jams as I've traveled around the world, not panicking, and just being very clear-headed about a lot of these things. And many of the topics we've discussed tonight,
yes, sir,
just AI, they can bring you down. You dwell on this stuff too much, and you can get depressed from this, and people do. But we have to rise above it. So living in the moment, being present, be here now, is the way that I cope with a lot of this stuff, and realizing there is a big plan behind all this. And I do like the quote in the Bible that says, in the end, God wins. And I do believe there is a higher power that does want to see humanity succeed. And it's really up to us, guys. We're the ground crew here on Earth. And it's really up to us to make the best situation come true. And when you're in the moment, when you be here now, you can start envisioning free energy being released, 0-point energy, traveling to the stars, and so many wonderful things that have been suppressed and bottled up that can benefit and aid the human race in this very pivotal moment in our very existence. I mean, I keep stressing how important this lifetime is, but I think we're all here voluntarily, many of us, to help this planet get through this momentous time. I do a chapter in Modern Esoteric about the indigo children, profiling how many of these very advanced children who are being born, and as soon as they can start playing piano, like Mozart played classical piano at age 5, and other children knowing languages as soon as they're able to speak. And this is also good evidence for reincarnation, but it's also showing that very gifted people are being born right now and are coming down to help humanity with this transition, because the revolution is consciousness, and it's really up to us to wake up. And that's how we win. And we win it nonviolently, and we win it in a way that really nobody has to get hurt. And we can wipe out this darkness by exposing it. That's really the goal we should keep in mind, is to understand how this matrix works. And I do like, I was with Michael Jaco, Navy SEAL guy. He's up in Tahoe, and we've become really good friends. I was on his show last night. He was saying that he had the original writer of the script of The Matrix. There's a long story behind that, but Keanu Reeves, the main actor, said that he learned from the original writer of The Matrix that this was not a fictional account.
Are you talking about Sophia Stewart?
The way it is, yeah. Have you heard that too?
Are you referring to Sophia Stewart, correct?
Yeah.
Yes,
right.
She's a good friend of mine as well. I talk to her pretty normally, yeah.
And that it was written as reality, that
right.
We are in this matrix. And so that movie becoming so popular, and the whole term about the red pill, and see how deep the rabbit hole goes,
right,
is so very parallel to all the conspiracy research that we're talking about.
It's a trip. By the way, Mike, go ahead. I think you might have been in the middle of saying something there. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I forgot.
You tuned out.
Carry on.
He forgot what he was going to say. Brad, with everything going on right now, with COVID, with just life in general, what would you say is our greatest distraction?
Mainstream media, bar none. Absolutely. The Mockingbird-controlled mass media is the greatest trick the devil ever played on us. I love that quote. The greatest trick the devil ever played was to make us believe he didn't exist, to make us believe that the reality we get out of the mainstream media, news agencies specifically, steering this narrative in the way that they want us to think, is what we really have to break free. That, in the subtitle to my book, Beyond Esoteric, Escaping Prison Planet, that's what it's all about. And I would like to hear your perspective, Michael and Myke, about what Escaping Prison Planet means to you and how can we do it.
You want to go first?
No, Michael, you go ahead first because I have to ask a few questions to kind of get the specific premise of the question.
Well, go ahead, Myke. If you have something to say, I don't want you to forget. Go ahead.
I just can you ask the question again, please, Brad?
Well, how would you describe Escaping Prison Planet? What is Prison Planet? And if we are here, how do we get out of here? What does that mean to you?
So what you're asking, correct me if I'm wrong, is if I had to get off of this planet? Is that what you're saying?
If you've ever even heard the term Prison Planet, if you have any concept of what that means, and it could be like the Matrix. How do we take the red pill and wake up to this false reality that we've been positioned to believe? And is that the escape? Maybe it's consciousness. Maybe it's waking up. That is the escape. But basically, what do you guys think of this whole concept of Prison Planet?
Yeah, I don't think Myke has...
Alex Jones popularized it originally.
Yeah, I don't think Myke has ever heard of that term, to be honest.
I honestly, I've never heard of it before. So, Michael, why don't you take the stage?
Well, Prison Planet, I mean, it's very odd when we look at all these civilizations and they talk about our inception and where we're going to go, life and death. Everyone always talks about these sort of things, no matter where you are on this island Earth. I mean, all of us are pretty much connected one way or another. Consciousness, like Brad was talking about, maybe the only way to escape this prison planet is by death.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the only true way to escape the prison planet per se, this realm that we're in. We're not free. We like to believe that we're free, but no, we're not. I'm not free to do anything I want to do because there are consequences. Myke, you can't do whatever you want to do.
Oh, society.
Society. It's not possible. So perhaps escaping the prison planet would be just not living anymore. Just dying, Brad. Maybe that's the only way to truly escape. But in the Bible, and you are a Bible man yourself, it says we are born with yokes around our necks. And the Sumerians also say, that we were basically designed to be slaves. So there's also that commonality there, that maybe perhaps we are essentially just slaves.
That's racist.
That's very racist, but it's very true. All of us have been slaves one time or another.
Maybe we were created as a slave race.
It makes sense. It makes sense to me.
The final salvos before we really reach true freedom.
You guys
if that's possible.
Myke says that we're racist now.
Well, all races are included here. We're all in this prison planet together, right? So there is no separation.
Big racist.
We should all be working towards the same common goal, and that is, how do we break this web of control? And now, with the introduction of AI, maybe we never will escape this web of control, that it's just now taking a new level. Even though we're waking up and we're conscious to it, it may still have us under its iron grip. So that's a great reply, Michael. And I would just counter to say that maybe death is also part of keeping us here in Prison Planet.
Maybe.
Because
never know.
There is talk of the soul traps, that you go to the light when you die, and it's really a soul trap, and you get brought right back, reincarnated right back, and your memory is swiped. And so this is what holds us back, is that we don't have this total recall of many, many past lives and who we were, and that experience in the bardo, as it's explained by Buddhists, this 40 days usually in this temperate zone before you're reborn again.
Purgatory.
Yeah.
Yes,
and in that phase,
No, wouldn't
You're
that be
getting
limbo?
kicked right back into Prison Planet.
Limbo, purgatory, it's all.
Now, purgatory isn't purgatory like part of hell? I thought limbo would be like the waiting neutral stage.
I think they're both places you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. But you know what? It's inevitable. We're all going to die.
Yes,
so
sir.
we should start thinking about what might happen. And maybe upon death, there is an escape. Perhaps that is the one way out. And perhaps that is based on how we live our lives right now.
Right.
And
go ahead.
Once you start to really get this concept that your soul is eternal and the life that you live all have a very important lesson that you're meant to reach. And if you don't get that lesson, boom, you're right back. You got to do it again.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you incorporate the laws of karma, and they're very real universal laws, you reap what you sow, you get what you give, and you start to realize, I don't know if I want to come back to this prison planet. Then you start to be the very best human being you can be and give $1 to a homeless person and help whenever you can and just volunteer yourself in service to others. And that then raises your vibrational level in so much that you're not as susceptible to this matrix control anymore. And
I'm not home.
Here is my other call.
I'm not home.
So guys, I'm going to have to leave it at that.
Yes, no worries, Brad. I do want to thank you for being a part of the program and sticking around as long as you have, even through the technical difficulties. I'm glad you were here through the thick and thin. Brad, go ahead and plug anything you like before we cut you loose here.
Hey, guys, yeah, if people want to follow me, bradolsen.com to see the different projects I'm working on, or CCC Publishing is my publishing website, and all books ordered there come through my office, and I'm able to sign copies. And just want to say thank you very much for having me on. It was a really enlightening conversation, and looking forward to talking to you guys again.
Thank you so much, and we will do this again on the other side, Brad. Take care.
Take care, Brad.
Good night.
Good night. And there he goes, ladies and gentlemen. That was the one and only Mr. Brad Olsen. I really did enjoy that conversation, Myke. I think you enjoyed it too.
Fascinating.
That was fun, right?
Absolutely fascinating.
I enjoyed it. I had so much to ask him too.
Yeah, it's too bad we got started 45 minutes late.
I know. Holy shit, we were late.
Apologies, audience. Michael had some serious problems hooking up Brad on the line. He had to switch computers. And then there were bad reception situations. So yeah, it was a serious issue that Michael was going through. One
thing after another.
Indeed.
It was terrible, but yes, that was Mr. Brad Olsen. We do want to thank him tremendously for being a part of the program, and of course his book, Beyond Esoteric, Escaping Prison Planet. And I think I sort of blew him away with my answer there, Myke.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting answer.
I don't think he was waiting for that.
Blown away with too. I think you caught him off guard with that answer.
I caught myself off guard. I didn't know I was going to say that shit. But no, man. There's lots of strange shit when you go back and look throughout history, ancient history, that is.
Of course.
You see all these weird things, and you just can't imagine how people lived at one time or another, especially through medieval times. If you've ever gone to that amusement park, Myke, have you been out there before? Medieval times.
The one in New Jersey?
Well, anywhere.
Yeah, I used to live about 5 minutes away from it. Medieval times. In fact, the last time I went to it was for a friend of mine's birthday. I believe it was in 2013.
Lucky you. I want to go out there.
It's all right.
I miss it. I like
overpriced food.
It is overpriced, yeah, but I like, I like seeing the history. I like knowing these weird things. I like seeing motherfuckers get tortured.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. I actually go to the Renaissance Festival in New York.
Nice.
Like every other year. Not because I just want to see people dressed up in Renaissance clothes.
You're trying to get laid out there, Myke. Is that what's going on?
Not even close.
Trying to get some of that nerdy trim out there.
Because I love to buy all the artifacts that they have there, handmade art and everything. So I enjoy that. That's what I like to do.
Very nice. And of course, we do have a caller on the line. Caller, go ahead. You are live on the air. Don't be scared.
Gentlemen, can you hear me okay this evening?
Loud and clear. Go ahead.
Sweet. This is Eric, the Awakening Man.
What's up, brother? How are you?
Right, you guys are the top show on the shelf tonight, no doubt about it. That was a great conversation.
Thank you.
I just wanted to call and share with you guys a Brad Olsen story that last year we got to experience together in Kingman, Arizona. If you want to hear it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's this guy that his name's Harry Drew. He lives in Kingman, Arizona. He wrote this book called 7 Days in May. It's about these UFO crashes and also a UFO landing in Kingman, Arizona, near the lake up there, the Red Lake area, in 1954. Didn't get a lot of publicity at the time because it was covered up very well. But anyway, so I met this Harry Drew guy at this conference in Laughlin, Nevada last year. Brad Olsen was up there with me, and I bought his book and did some research about the Kingman, Arizona area. And so I stayed in touch with them, and anyway, the long story short of it is, I told Brad, I go, next time, you're going to be coming into the Arizona area, he lives in California also. I said, we got to go up to Kingman and see if we can see some UFOs. So finally last year, the time came where he was coming to Arizona, and I was already in Sedona with the Reverend John Polk. Have you ever had John Polk on your show, by the way?
Yes, he's been here a long time ago, but yeah, good guy.
Yeah. He's my buddy. Anyway, so we were hanging out in Sedona, and so the plan was to drive to Kingman, which is a couple-hour drive from where we were, and meet Brad and this lady that he was seeing at the time in Kingman, and then we were going to go to this one area where Harry Drew said, okay, you got to get on this road called, let me think of the name. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but it's a road that goes all the way from downtown Kingman along this mountain valley range for about 40 miles, and then you get to another road, you make a right turn, and it takes you out to the Red Lake, which is like this desert lake area out there where, I'm going to guess, if aliens wanted to hide, that would be the place to go and hide.
That'd be the place.
Out in the desert this is. Yeah. So we drove out there. It was about, we got out there a little bit before dark. The guy said, Harry Drew says, you got to drive out about 20 miles on this road, and then you pull over. Oh, it's called Old Stockton Road, by the way. If you ever want to do like a Google search on the map, Google Earth map, Old Stockton Road. And so we were driving out there. They're kind of carpooling. He was with his girl. I'm with John and I are driving. And we see this little area. We pull off to the left, and we're just kind of hanging out. And we got the night vision goggles. And so it's almost dark. And we're just thinking, man, I told those guys, we drove a long ways just to go to this one spot because Harry Drew said that we're going to see UFOs out there. So this is no exaggeration, by the way. I wish Brad was on so to verify that this is a true story I'm telling you right now, by the way. Is within 30 minutes time, we saw no less than 25 UFOs fly over the top of us in this one area that we were in.
25?
Like zero light. Yeah, 25. I'm not exaggerating. It was insane. And at one point, there was, and it blew, I think it might have been the first time that Brad actually saw like real UFOs because we were all blown away. I wasn't totally blown away because I was expecting to see something, but I was not expecting to see that many. But what really like, okay, when you see like lights going over the top of you, like way up in the sky, you can rationalize a lot of things. You could say it's a satellite, or it's a plane, or it's a helicopter, or whatever. Or some military thing, or whatever.
Mothman.
It's big, yeah, Mothman. It could be whoever. But this at one point there was these three lights coming from the south, heading towards us over the top of us, and then there was another light way up above that was coming down towards the direction of where these three lights were. So these three lights were flying in a triangle formation, and it could have been a giant triangle. I couldn't tell you that, but I just know that they were flying in formation. And this other light comes down, and it looks like they're going to crash into each other. And they just go right by each other. And we were just like blown away. So,
of course.
So anyway, I think it was Brad's first chance ever to see like real UFOs. So, if you guys ever want to see UFOs, Kingman, Arizona. Let me know. I'll hook you up.
Go out there. Yes. Anybody that wants to see something awesome in the sky, definitely go check out that location that Eric is talking about here.
You're in El Centro. You're out there in the middle of like nowhere also. Right?
I'm in the middle of nowhere. So yes, we see all sorts of strange lights in the sky out here. No doubt.
Now, there's been an uptick lately. Have you heard anything or seen anything lately that kind of stood out in your mind? Cause
yeah, of course.
Like more UFO.
Yeah, I saw something, matter of fact, maybe early last year. I saw this weird thing that, strangely enough, I saw a video on YouTube of the same sort of a thing. I was actually with my dad, and he said, look up. He said, what is that? He was telling me, is that a group of birds? Is that a flock of birds, rather? He said. And I looked up, and it's way out there, way out in the sky, and it was no flock of birds. Whatever this was.
No flocking birds?
No flocking birds, yeah.
I love it, no flocking birds.
I'm going to have to show you that video.
Do they float around, or do they dart off at 90-degree angles?
No, they were all, it looked like they were all stacked on top of each other, just sort of hanging around there. And then, of course, they all broke apart.
Maybe they were taking a break.
I don't know what it was. Maybe it was a mass orgy in the sky.
Maybe they were just tired of flying and they just kind of laid on each other.
They just sort of laid on each other. You never know. Maybe that is exactly the answer. No, but there are some weird things that you do see out here, no doubt.
Well, and Brad and I, we went 2 years ago. We went out to the Little Alien out there in Rachel, Nevada, which is right on the other side of the mountain. Is the Area 51. Me and like 6 other guys were all out there for the first time. So we're going to go back out there in 2 weeks after he does his talk on Sunday. We're going to go out there Monday, and I just got these night vision goggles with the zoom lens on.
Look at you with the expensive night vision goggles on there.
Yeah, well, you know, you only got to do it once. You might as well do it right, you know.
Yes, exactly. You have to do it right.
But I'm going to tell you this, in case nobody knows this, is my opinion, because of what we experienced when we were out there last time, is the government, or whoever's running Area 51, they absolutely have they have aircraft, whatever they are, flying out there at speeds like 1,700 miles an hour right over the top of you on the highway 395 extraterrestrial highway. And I know a guy that actually was able to videotape it, and then we slowed it down to super slow motion, and you can clearly see that it is a disc. And the reason why I think it's not alien is because the thing made like a loud noise, like a supersonic sound when it went over the top of us. And from my understanding, the ET craft don't make any noise. So I think this was a back-engineered alien craft that they're flying around out there. And it's
I got news for you. Even if it was an alien craft, physics basically proves that anything traveling close to or faster than the speed of sound is going to create a sonic boom. It happens every time a meteor crashes, and a meteor travels at no less than 14,000 miles an hour. In fact, the space station, the ISS, travels at 17,500 miles an hour. So anything that could be that fast, physics will state that it would break the sound barrier. So you would get sonic booms. So I think there's, well, that's just physics, man. That's mathematics, you know.
I don't know physics that well, but I just know.
Oh, I don't either, my friend. I'm just saying that in a basic study of things, that's what would happen.
You brought something up, actually. I want to ask you, because I sort of got about 3 hours ago, I was trying to figure this out. I was trying to figure out, first of all, is the space station really up there? And if it is up there, is it really traveling at 1,700 miles an hour? And this guy apparently it is real. It's really up there.
What, the ISS?
Yeah, it's really up there.
Oh, I've seen it. I've got an app on my phone, and the app is called Skyview. It's a free app, and it allows you to pick out certain celestial objects that you can basically find. I've seen rockets that are coasting through the upper stratosphere. I've seen the ISS hundreds of times. I've seen it go right over my house. And if you didn't know it was the ISS, you would think it was a plane. But I've got video of it. I can actually see it. And oh yeah, it's out there. There's no doubt.
Can you send me a video possibly?
You can get them online. Go to ISS transit in front of the moon. You can see it travel right in front of the moon with a telescope. But what I was going to say, my friend, is also meteors. When meteors and asteroids and comets travel, they are extremely fast, 30,000 miles an hour. These things are incredible. In the vacuum of space, propelled by either an explosion or a supernova or a quasar or whatever, these things are catapulted through space and time, and they travel at excruciatingly mind-numbing speeds. Like, you just can't even imagine it.
Here's my question. This is what I don't understand, and this is where I'm stupid. I'm being serious, or ignorant, I should say. Is they have humans on that space station? Is that correct? 6 humans, if I'm not mistaken.
They have what?
Don't they have humans on the space station?
There is a human in the ISS every second of the day.
Right. So what I'm trying to figure out is, how is it that humans can be up there in space traveling at 1,700 miles an hour and not feel the effects of that? That's what I don't understand.
Because when you're in a vacuum, do you ever see them do spacewalks? When they're outside of the spaceship doing something, they're traveling at 17,000 miles an hour. When you're in a vacuum, there's no atmosphere to slow you down. When you hit that's why when a meteor comes through the atmosphere, or I should say out of space into our atmosphere, 9 times out of 10 it breaks up. Usually the smaller ones break up because it's traveling at such a speed. When it hits the atmosphere slows it down. It's like drag on a plane, and it immediately it's hitting oxygen and hydrogen and condensation and all that, and it just boom. It's like the brakes.
Right.
If you're really interested in this stuff, I highly recommend that you go on YouTube and look up information of the space shuttle coming into the atmosphere from a trip, or look up some of the information about meteors, how they. I was just reading today about a meteor hit on February 28th in England that shot across the sky and exploded, and it came in at about, what did they say, 33,000 miles an hour.
By the way, pretty soon, Eric, I just wanted to tell you, Eric, that if you're interested, you could actually look further into the International Space Station, the trips that they're going to be doing pretty soon as well.
That's through SpaceX, right?
It might be through SpaceX, unless it's another private company that I'm not aware of.
I think it's SpaceX, Michael. Yeah, I think they are actually going to possibly offer the ability for normal people like ourselves to go up into the upper stratosphere and see what it's like. I would love to see it. Just, not to go off subject here, but there was a thing I saw on Hulu. If you're on Netflix, you can go to Hulu. They have a show, I believe it's called The Earth from the ISS, or the International Space Station. And it's basically a camera on the front of the ISS that's traveling around the world, and you get to see the world as it's traveling. And I mean, that's all it is. All you see is clouds and ocean and mountains and stuff. But it's so fascinating just to see the world from that perspective. And I think it's amazing. I think it's a great program.
It's too bad I don't have $1 million to go out there myself, Myke.
Oh, I would love to go, Michael. I would. I really would.
Go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
No, I had one more question for Myke that I just kind of lost. Oh, I was gonna. So, Myke, you studied this. It sounds like I'm glad I found somebody that knows about this, because you're the first person actually that I've.
Well, Eric, I wouldn't say that I'm a pro. I have always been fascinated by celestial objects in outer space. I did volunteer as a helper for the William McDowell observatory, which is located in Lyndhurst, New Jersey. I volunteered there for about, what was it? I think 4 years. And I'm a photographer, so I used to hook up my camera to a $150,000 telescope. And I got images. God. Yeah. In fact, I was even trained by a NASA ambassador who taught me how to operate it. And I would take pictures of the Orion Nebula, Jupiter, Saturn, which, by the way, Saturn, if you've never seen Saturn through a telescope, you have no idea what you're missing. I could look at Saturn all day long, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and never be bored.
On acid.
Maybe on acid too, but it is absolutely astonishing. It's one of the most, that and Jupiter are one of the two greatest things to see through a telescope, especially a $150,000 telescope.
Oh, they.
Wow. Well, we found Mike's hot spot there. I didn't realize that these guys have a plethora of knowledge. I'm kind of digging it, actually.
I wish I knew more, but I
you
think,
got these pictures still on your like computer somewhere? I mean, if you could share them with Mike and Michael, and you could share them with us, or what's the deal on that? You got any pics?
What was that question?
You still have pictures that you saved?
I sure do.
He's asking you. He's asking you for nudes, Mike.
Oh, is that what?
Yeah, can you? No. Can you?
I actually have a photograph I took of the northern and southern hemisphere of the moon that I took through my camera, which is actually hanging on my wall right now. I'm looking at it.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to contact Decon, and then he could put you and I in touch together on email or whatever, and then tomorrow we'll just follow up on this because I definitely.
You could find me on Facebook, man. It's facebook.com/hideous. Myke, Myke.
Okay, I'm gonna go follow you right now. Hideous, Hidious?
Hideous.
Hideous. Okay, hey guys, I don't want to take any more of your time, but I just thought I'd share that. I'm glad I called in because now I learned that I got a connection here.
Thank you for calling, Eric.
Thanks for calling in, Eric. We'll talk to you soon, brother.
Have a good night.
All right, take care. And there he goes. That was Eric. Great call there.
Absolutely.
Talked a little bit about space. That's always fun, Mike. You know,
about space.
Get a little scared there, talking about being out there in the dark abyss of space where no one can hear you scream.
You know what, Michael? When Brad was speaking about living in the now and not, how people get depressed and everything when you hear about all this craziness that's going on in the modern world.
Yeah, sure.
He's absolutely right, and you really have to disconnect yourself from it. Just like I told you a couple of weeks ago that how I had gotten so involved in the election with politics, it brought me down because I was so devastated when we lost the election. You really have to separate yourself because you do live in the here and now, and you only have this time. And it's frivolous to waste your time thinking about what the end is going to be like. And
that's why I like asking those questions, by the way, Mike. It always gets the guest revved up a little bit.
Indeed, sure.
Yeah, those questions there.
Especially a guy like him. I mean, that's what he writes about and he speaks about. That's his job, really.
That's his passion.
Right.
Oh, yes. And of course, before we jump into other topics here, I thought we could start off with Alex Jones, our friend Alex Jones, Mike.
Okay.
He's back. He's made the headlines yet again.
Has he?
He sure has. And we do have audio here of one Alex Jones that we will be playing in a moment for the listeners. But Mike, I have to say, early on in the game, Alex Jones was quite vocal about President Trump.
Okay.
He was all on board. And then, I'm not sure if you had seen this clip again, or at all, Mike, and obviously you have not seen this clip or heard this clip, and I'm sure many people have not heard this clip I'm about to play, but our friend was on tape back in 2019 saying, and I quote, "I wish I had never met Trump." Yes. So now he has turned his back on Donald J. Trump.
Okay.
That is incredible. Who would have known? that this was going to happen. I mean, he was all on board. Many people were saying that Alex Jones was single-handedly responsible for getting Trump elected. Some people were actually saying that, Myke.
I recollect hearing something to that effect.
Right. Well, now he's singing a very different tune. Here we go.
Okay.
Rolling.
Is he talking?
Part of me, the selfish part, wishes I'd never met Donald Trump, wishes that I'd never met Roger Stone, because unlike previous things I'd done that were game-changing, those were just time-space continuum reflections of the third big change I was going to be involved in. And that was bringing Donald John Trump into Austin. So I'm going to say that again. I said Austin into office. Because this is, you guys are actually really good questions. This is going to be a really good thing, but I'm going to say it again in a minute. Let's drink some of this Armani. I'll try to say it. Because it's the truth, and I'm just going to say it, that I wish I never would have fucking met Trump. I wish it never would have happened. And it's not that the attacks that I've been through. I'm so sick of fucking Donald Trump, man. God, I'm fucking sick of him. And I'm not doing this because it's like I'm kissing his fucking ass, you know? It's just like I'm sick of it.
He's fucking sick of it.
What exactly is he sick of?
I don't know. That's just what he's saying here in this video. Doesn't really go on to explain anything. It's just some journalist that was interviewing him from I forgot what magazine it was. They're just asking him questions, and they sort of just go off here for a moment. Off topic here, yes. So I don't exactly know what that means or what that entails, but it's all for play. It's all bullshit, in my opinion. I mean, some of these people's opinions are bullshit, Myke.
You think his opinion is bullshit?
Most likely. I think a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon, and many people did for many years. For the time Trump was in. I think people jumped on the bandwagon and made that money from that grift.
You know, I took heat yesterday when I got a phone call from my
You took heat?
phone.
Why?
Yeah, a little bit of heat from my buddy, Special Agent G13, also known as Mr. Byron Barberi, my drummer from Myke Hideous.
What'd he say?
He called me up and called me a conservative.
He called you a conservative?
Yeah, he was busting my chops. But a shout out to Byron. He was saying, like, he was kind of concerned not concerned, but shocked about my how I tend to favor President Trump, having been a politically correct liberal Democrat for a very long portion of my life. He knew me when I was still Democratic back in the day, but we didn't get to talk for long. I eventually had to go, but I just wish I could have explained more that the things that I see in the Democratic Party are
grifters.
They are, say again?
Grifters, people that don't really care.
What I was going to say is that what I've seen in the Democratic Party has become disturbing, and I think, not that I haven't seen things from the right that are disturbing, is because I believe that most politicians, if not 99% of them, they're all hypocritical bullshitters.
Well, that's why when I hear these people, and in a good example right now, Alex Jones, I swear, a lot of these people say these things, but they don't actually mean them. Their public opinions are very different from their private opinions. That's what I think.
I'm wondering if he's saying that because of all of the media, this media attack on him and the people, the public attack on him. For,
yeah.
Maybe.
That was back in
Mr.
2019, by the way, that clip.
Was it?
Yes, sir.
So, wow, as far back as 2019?
Right.
I wonder what his position is now. I mean, you think he's the same way?
I think he's full of shit.
Because I was going to say maybe he's just saying it because of all the insanity that has gone along with Trump's administration and his time as president. Maybe he's just tired of hearing all the crap.
That too. Hold on one second, Mike. We do have another caller here. Let's bring them in. Caller, you are live and direct. What's going on?
Hello, Michael. Hello, Mike. My name is Michael.
Your name is Michael too?
Sorry, we got too many Michaels on this show.
There's too many Michaels here, yes.
Is it? Well, I can change my name.
Oh, we like the name Michael. It's okay. So what's on your mind, my friend? How are you?
I'm pretty well, and I hope you both are too.
Yes, sir.
I've listened to you for a while, Michael, but this is my first time calling in, really.
This is your first time, you said?
I think so.
First time caller, long time listener. Is that what you're telling me?
I haven't listened all that long, honestly. Sometimes I put you on, and like 30 seconds later, I'm out like a light.
That's a good thing, then.
Yeah,
see, Michael, that's how good you entertain people.
That's right. It's a good sign right there.
Yeah, it's trusting. Like if I didn't trust your voice, I wouldn't just nod off like a babe in the woods.
Well, that's true. I have heard that before in the past. Yes.
How's my levels, by the way? Am I too loud?
You sound great.
Okay, good. So I heard you talking about Alex Jones condemning Trump.
Yes, sir.
And why, and how some of it's bullshit, and how it all seems like so contrived. And I wanted to call in and confirm, yes, it is. It is bullshit.
What do you think of that, though? You heard that clip just now. You heard what Alex Jones just said, and that was back in 2019.
Well, I remember the day after the election, they started dumping on Alex Jones immediately. Immediately! Like within a day, Alex Jones was no longer favored amongst the Trumpians.
Interesting.
Do you remember? I think it might be possible to go back. At first, Alex Jones was like subdued happiness, like Trump won. He was like, oh yeah, I talked to Trump 2 days ago, and this is the plan, this is this is that, blah, 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 blah. I know this. That lasted for about 18 hours. And then Jones started to slowly be pushed away, pushed aside into the not the rubbish bin, but like the back corner of the Goodwill, the one that smells vaguely of vegan pee. And that started happening Trump? Immediately. Well, by the alternative media establishment. You've got the mainstream media, and they do things there that way. And then there's the alternative establishment, they do things their way. Jones is the clown establishment. Like, you know he's the tip of the LHO spear. And by LHO, you know what I mean?
Right.
Really? Yeah.
Right.
And that's good.
Can I say something to you, caller? I heard something very similar. Do you know who Michael Savage is?
I've heard of him. I don't know him well.
He's a talk show host. He's I wouldn't say totally conservative, but he's from San Francisco. And he's got a radio show. After Trump, he was very supportive of Trump in the beginning. I remember listening to him. And then shortly after the election, when Trump won, there was a point in time where like he didn't speak to Donald Trump, for a very long time. And he started saying that he was upset with the fact that, I did all this work, this campaign work for him to help him become president. And he did. And he got a little angry that once he became president, he wasn't in communication with him anymore. So I was wondering if you think that has anything to do with Mr. Jones.
Well, I don't know Mr. Savage very well, or at all. Only by reputation. Is he part of the truth establishment? Is he part of the mainstream establishment? Is he a gatekeeper? Well, he must be a gatekeeper. He hasn't been shot lately. I don't really know what his angle is on what the state of the world is, so I don't know why he's following the orders he's following. But it can be said with surety that if he's got a show and millions of people are listening to him and he's allowed to keep doing that and drawing breath and a paycheck.
That's pretty fishy.
He must be doing something right?
That's right. And of course, for those that don't know, this is one of our favorite clips to play of Alex Jones.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that?
Yes.
We all
Can you play the
hate
other
gay frogs. That's what it is. For gay frog bashing.
Yes, sir.
Oh my lord.
What were you saying? What were you saying, caller? I couldn't hear you there.
Can you play the folk song? I'll sing along to it.
The folk song, which was that? Which is that one?
Let me link it in chat.
The folk song. I'm not quite sure I am familiar with that one, but I'm sure it's another parody song of Alex Jones. I'm sure.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, but Alex Jones. I'm not quite sure what's going on with our friend, but that was a strange clip we heard earlier, and Jones, of course, has been making plenty of money from this grift. That's what I think. Caller, I'm not sure if you agree with me on that. I just said Alex Jones.
I'm not privy to Alex Jones' finances, but I mean, is he really making money, or is he just so much as just moving it around?
I think he's making plenty of money. I mean, he did have to go through that divorce and give the wife that other mansion that he owns, so he's not broke. That's for sure.
But do we really see Alex Jones as being an independent man who has his own gig that he decides all the decisions for? I see him more as an Elon Musk.
Ooh.
Where he's just like the figurehead of an iceberg of capitalistic money.
I like where you're going with this. Okay.
Well, thank you. Now, did you see the link that I was put in your chat, the YouTube link? Can you play that one?
I don't see any link. Unless they don't let you... Yeah, I don't think they let you enter any links here.
Well, that's lame. It says at 9:20 p.m.
Yeah, it's not coming up here. What's the name of it?
Alex Jones Rants as an indie folk song.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I could find that here in a second.
Okay, it's stuff like this. I'm angry. I've had enough of these people.
I want you to sing it.
They're a bunch of Christianeering scum who died. What?
You
threw me off.
Sorry about that.
All right.
Oh, I think I did. I found it.
Yeah, it's popular. You haven't heard it? Oh, it's one of the best.
The paradigm of absolute control. And that's why we're just out here doing simple things.
I believe this is the one you're talking about.
Be in nature and be natural. And this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order. And that's why they want to try to keep us out of it.
Oh my.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian giant factories from time to life and sell their body parts. I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They have green looking skin and they run around screaming of Satan. We want to eat, baby.
Boy, if you would shut up,
I
maybe
have
I'd hear
them
the song.
on video. Hillary's in the creepy, weird, sick stuff, man. She sleeps in the same room with that creepy, weird woman whose mother wears a hood over her head. That woman number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. I'm told her and Obama just stink. Obama and Hillary both smell like sulfur.
Good God.
I need a
tambourine. Vampire pot and the goblins are hobbling round coming after us.
This is pretty good.
My spirit gets close to that evil and I feel it go.
Oh, that's not. I was off tune there.
Millions of pointed people of the very worst type, and I'm so pissed. We're gonna stab your daughter at the mall.
You're gonna stab your daughter at the mall.
Gonna stab your wife, your son.
Well, that was nice.
Stab you with a butcher knife. And the police chief is gonna say, we love our Somali. We love our Muslims. Oh, they're so good. Oh, they're so sweet.
That was pretty good.
I don't want to encourage murder.
That was good. I like that. Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention here on the program.
You're welcome. I hope I didn't bug it up.
No, it was fun. I liked it.
All right.
A great time there.
Excellent.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Anything else you'd like to add, caller, before we let you go here?
Well, do you have another call? I mean, shit, I don't want to leave you alone with this guy.
No.
Nut Anders says, "Shut up, Jackie." Okay, well, fine.
No, we like you calling in. We want you to call in again whenever you have the time to do so. But before I do let you go, you have been listening to the program for a bit here, and I do have this question to ask you. How do you think the Earth will end, caller?
Not with a whimper, but with a bang.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that I cannot argue about
Big
there.
bang.
Yes. So, caller, oh, never mind. He hung up already.
Well then.
He hung up. But yes, I was gonna say to gonna tell him to say goodnight to everybody here before we let him go.
Apparently, he didn't want to talk to you, Michael.
He was gone.
Like, screw these guys.
He wanted no part of this anymore.
Who does, really?
Yeah. This terrible show. He's gone too. He was just like, I'm not gonna be here.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that?
Yeah, do you understand that, Mike?
I love that. That's as good as China.
China. I have no idea why he says it that way, though.
Oh.
Do you?
No, but
China.
China.
China. China. China. China. China. China.
China.
Gay frogs.
And gay frogs, right. What a world we live in. Gay frogs, you got people thinking the earth is flat. You have people thinking space is fake.
Do you know who sang that song? Who was singing that song?
We don't know.
Okay.
It was a hero of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
It was a hero that we didn't know we needed in our lives.
Whew.
What a show that was, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
No, it's almost over, but we do have a little bit more to go here.
Okay.
Almost done, Mike. Almost done. And I believe we had audio. I think we have audio here of our next story, Mike. We have Como to talk about.
Oh, here we go.
Are you ready for that?
I am ready.
Can you believe it, though?
Oh, what a jerk. What a hypocritical, lying...
POS?
Yeah, POS politician.
You think he's a piece of shit?
They all are, Michael.
I think,
I've come to that conclusion. They all are.
Well, I'm glad you have finally joined me in the present time, Mike.
Absolutely.
They're all
but don't get me wrong.
Pieces of shit.
I still believe that Donald Trump was an outsider, and that's why I voted for him. Because I didn't want another lying, hypocritical politician in office.
Well, Mike, unfortunately, as soon as you sign on that dotted line and you go into that office there, you are one of them. You are no longer one of us.
You think so?
I know so.
Okay.
That's the way I feel about this program. If you are not with us, then you are against us. If you are my enemy, then I have to break your kneecaps. One way or another.
I'm not coming to visit you then.
That's right. By the way, Mike, here we go. This is the moment we've been waiting for. This is the former Como aide who was detailing the sexual harassment allegations to our favorite governor.
Yeah.
Governor Cuomo said that he has never propositioned anybody. Do you believe that he was propositioning you?
Yes.
For what?
Sex.
In the spring of 2020, New York was the epicenter of the COVID crisis.
The pandemic was obviously stressful for all of us, and he was on TV nearly every day talking about it.
You make that gown look good?
So you think all this national attention...
You hear what he said? He said, you make that gown look good.
I heard that loud and clear.
Whoa. Let me play that again.
2020, New York was the epicenter of the COVID crisis.
The pandemic was obviously stressful for all of us, and he was on TV nearly every day talking about it.
You make that gown look good?
So you think all this national attention may have emboldened him?
Absolutely. I think he felt like he was untouchable in a lot of ways.
Bennett says their professional relationship took a turn on May 15th when she alleges the governor started asking her about her love life. And then became fixated, repeating over and over again her history as a sexual assault survivor.
So he goes, "You were raped. You were raped. You were raped and abused and assaulted."
Another key encounter happened on June 5th, when Bennett says she was called into Cuomo's office to take dictation, and he told her to turn off the tape recorder.
And then he explains at that point that he is looking for a girlfriend. He's lonely. He's tired.
You've just finished dictation, and the governor is telling you he's lonely and looking for a relationship.
He's lonely, Myke.
And dictation.
He wants to get to know her, Myke. That's all.
Mm-hmm. It's a liminal message there. Dictation.
Yes. He asked if I had trouble enjoying being with someone because of my trauma.
This seems highly inappropriate.
Yeah. The governor asked me if I was sensitive to intimacy.
In his office?
Yes. During the workday.
You have been quoted as saying that he also asked you about if you'd ever been with an older man.
Oh, shit.
He asked me if age difference mattered. He also explained that he was fine with anyone over 22.
2020, New York was the
Look at Como, by the way, Myke.
Was
the player
sensitive to intimacy.
In his office.
I had to rewind that part.
During the workday.
You have been quoted as saying he also asked you about if you'd ever been with an older man.
Yeah. He asked me if age difference.
All right, Myke. So, he's an older man. He sees a younger girl and, he makes a pass at her. He's trying to get in that ass.
Right.
But, he didn't really do anything. He just kind of hit on her.
Right.
Yeah. Was it really that bad?
I don't see anything wrong with making a pass at a woman, but today and this time, in this era,
yes,
you can't even make a pass without it being considered a what's the word I'm looking for? An abusive remark, comment, whatever you want to call it.
It's not a big deal for us, obviously, but at a workplace, it might not fly for most people out there. You really can't do that.
And you know what? I guess you're right. I could tell you stories when I used to work at the newspaper. Oh my God, the things that we used to say to the two hot chicks that lived there.
Oh, of course.
that worked there.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'll probably get a lawsuit now.
You're gonna get Me Too'd after this. I'm gonna get Me Too'd after the show.
It's gotten to a point where I don't even think about ever walking up to a girl and saying, "Hi, you're beautiful," because I'm afraid I'll either get smacked
get
or
slapped.
she'll call a cop.
Yeah, you get tased. You never know.
She'll hit me with mace. I mean, I'm over it. I'm over it. I'm done. Never talk to a woman again.
Well, that's how it goes, especially in today's society.
Apparently, yeah.
You're lucky you didn't get sprayed by any bear spray, Myke.
Yeah, it's a different time. I mean, it's like everybody's so uptight and so you can't joke and you can't be flirtatious. I mean, that's how men and women, get to know each other. They flirt with each other, and not for nothing, but I don't want to. I'm not being egotistical here, but in my time, I've had a few girls that have hit on me.
Sure.
And I mean, you have too, right, Michael?
Of course. I had a girl when I was working actually give her number to a coworker to give to me.
Is that the one that when the guy came to beat you up at the?
No, that's a very different situation.
Different. Okay. Just checking.
But no, I've had plenty of situations like that. Yeah, sure.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
And all I'm saying is that, is it like, are women becoming? Is a portion of women becoming that uptight that they just want to? Like, what do you got to do? Write a formal invitation?
Oh, yes
Dear
and no.
lady.
Yes and no. There are some women out there who have experienced some trauma in their life, some sexual trauma. I mean, I knew a girl who was telling me she doesn't want to go, and this is pre-COVID. She was saying that she doesn't want to go out very often because she doesn't want to get raped.
Wow, well, that's a psychological issue, wouldn't you say?
I would say yes. That's a psychological issue, and she is a very good-looking girl, by the way. So, I mean, it's not like it's not a irrational fear, but I mean, every time you go out, that's what's on your mind.
Yeah, that's not a. What can I say? You know, I don't even want to give an opinion because I would. It's possible
me
that
too.
I could get. Yeah. I don't even want to give an opinion.
No worries. Well, here we go.
It sounds like it
go
sounds. I'm sorry. It just sounds like a psychological issue with certain people.
Oh, it is though.
Who are living in fear that, you know, every guy is going to molest them or abuse them or rape them, and
some women do think that.
Case.
Yeah, that's not the case, but some women do really feel that way. It's sad.
And you're right, and that, in my personal opinion, is a psychological issue.
It is, no doubt. No doubt. And here we go. Let's continue playing this clip, Mike. We only have a few minutes of this clip left.
Right on.
It's mattered. He also explained that he was fine with anyone over 22.
And how old are you?
25.
What were you thinking as he's asking you these questions?
I thought, he's trying to sleep with me. The governor's trying to sleep with me. And I'm deeply uncomfortable. And I have to get out of this room as soon as possible.
And to be clear, what made you think that he was trying to sleep with you?
Without explicitly saying it, he implied to me that I was old enough for him and he was lonely.
Oh,
Text
shit.
messages sent by Bennett to a friend and reviewed by CBS News memorialize her encounter with Cuomo immediately afterwards. Bennett tells her friend the governor, quote, talked about age differences in relationships. The friend who verified the messages asks, wait, what? Did he do something? Bennett responds, no, but it was like the most explicit it could be. How did you respond to those questions?
I responded honestly. And when I was even thinking of coming forward, I think that was where I held the most shame. And that, like, I really was uncomfortable.
Why did you feel shame?
I feel like people put the onus on the woman to shut that conversation down. And by answering, I was somehow engaging in that or enabling it, when in fact I was just terrified.
People will watch this and say, why didn't you get up and leave?
It didn't feel like I had a choice.
He's your boss.
He's my boss. He's everyone's boss.
Come on.
Governor Cuomo said in a statement that what he said may have, quote, been misinterpreted. Did you misinterpret him?
No. I understood him loud and clear. It just didn't go the way he planned.
I never knew at the time I was making anyone feel uncomfortable.
Did you watch Governor Cuomo's apology?
I did. It's not an apology. It's not an issue of my feelings. It's an issue of his actions. The fact is that he was sexually harassing me, and he has not apologized for sexually harassing me. And he can't even use my name.
Oh,
and we reached out.
Oh, shit, Mike.
Mm.
Wow. Wow, wow,
So
wow, wow, wow.
Always this touchy situation.
Yes, indeed.
I'm sorry, but like, if she wasn't cornered, like when Biden cornered that one girl allegedly, it seems to me that she could have walked out any time.
She could have walked out any time. I don't think she was pinned against the wall like our boy Biden did.
That's right. And here's how I see it. And again, I'm not making a judgment call on this case. All I'm saying is this. If you are that offended in a situation where a guy is making a pass at you, if you don't if you're that offended, and if it means that much to you, then you get up and you walk out, whether it means your job
right,
or your reputation or not. Because if that is the foremost thing that you think about when a guy is talking to you, whether it's in the workplace or at a bar or on the street, if you can get away and you can walk away without a problem, then walk away. By all means, walk away. Because if this is something that you do not want to handle, which is simply the attraction of a man to a woman, or vice versa, or a man to a man, or a woman to a woman, then like what how complicated is it? How complicated is it?
I guess it's very complicated, Myke.
Apparently. I
right.
mean, if you're fearing molestation or abuse or even rape for that matter, and you can freely and casually, without a problem, walk out of the situation, then walk.
Yeah, you should probably leave.
Yeah. In fact, you shouldn't even be around men if you're that uptight about the possibility of someone talking flirtatious talk to you. Now, I don't know what he said, but I mean, if the guy really bothered you that much and he didn't have you pinned, or you weren't like handcuffed to the chair, or being threatened in any way, then walk the fuck out.
Yeah,
what
walk
is so
away.
Complicated?
Yeah. I think any logical person would probably get out of there and not stay there with that guy. The creepy boss.
Or get a job working for a woman, for God's sakes. How complicated is it?
Or that.
Look, I don't like Cuomo at all, but I certainly don't think he deserves this, in a sense that if nothing happened, what's the problem?
Right. I don't think anything did happen.
Well, according to her, nothing happened except
it was just him being
talking to her explicitly.
Yeah, it was just him being, slightly creepy, being, old and disgusting, not being very attractive. He kind of looks like a piece of shit from, New Jersey. I'm not lying.
New York, though.
Yeah, but he looks like he's from New Jersey with Chris Christie.
Oh, come on. What does that mean?
I'm just trying to bust balls here. That's all. But yes, let's say this. What if he was a younger guy? Let's say he was a good-looking man and he was hitting on her. Would she have liked that?
Good point,
Would
Michael.
She would
good
be.
Point.
Yes. Would she be complaining?
That's a very good point. And I must say that look, I know for a fact there have been situations that have happened in my life that if a person wasn't like a guy, let's be specific, if a guy wasn't good looking enough to a woman, that the circumstances would have been immediately reversed if the guy was creepy looking or ugly.
Exactly.
Because
yes,
it has a lot to do with it. Don't let anyone fool you. It has a lot to do with looks, and appearances are everything.
It's because it came from someone that she did not find attractive, in my opinion.
Very possible. Very possible.
If he was a good-looking man, then that'd be a different story. She'd be sleeping with him right now.
Very possible, Michael.
She would be getting fucked like a dog right now by him if he was good-looking. But that's not the case. He is the opposite of that. Let's just be real.
Are everything.
That's right.
Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
That's right.
People say don't judge a book by its cover. That's crap.
I don't believe that either.
I can't tell you how many times I've been in circumstances where like looks have mattered, and like people end up getting what they want based on the fact that they have a nice smile and they look nice and they're attractive.
Right.
It is very true. And it sucks for people who are, not attractive looking or maybe awkward in some way. They end up getting the short dick, and they're the ones who end up, sitting in their rooms or their homes depressed because they cannot meet someone casually that they can fall in love with or be friends with or anything like that.
That's
true.
Yes,
looks matter. 100% they matter.
That's right. And now, Myke, we have reached almost to the point of no return. It's almost over now. Isn't that sad?
Yes, let's go for another 3 hours.
I know, I would love to. But Myke, we do have one more clip here to play of I believe his name is Dave Dubenmeyer. And he is a very strange guy. He goes by the name of Coach Dave. And he, yes.
Guilty.
Yeah, his show stinks on ice.
Okay.
It's terrible. It is god awful, but here we go. This is our friend Dave Dubenmeyer, who sort of recounts his story about not wearing a mask. Let's hear what he has to say here.
I do a monthly newsletter. My monthly newsletter gets printed at a business that you would know, but I'm just not going to use that name right now. So I've been doing that business, using them for like 18 years. So last month when I was in there, the young girl who prints the newsletter got rainbow hair and all that stuff, and she's got a mask on, and I start the mask conversation, say, thanks for not making me wear one, and blah, 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 blah. So I go back this month, I send my newsletter in, I go back this month, and she just printed it off, and my newsletter this month is all about masks, why we shouldn't wear them. And there she is behind the thing. And so I go up there, and I say, hey, how you doing? And she says, she's real short, okay. And she reached down and pulled up my box of newsletters and put the box of newsletters and looked me directly in the eye and said, if you don't wear a mask, I'm not going to print your newsletters anymore. And the boxes started flying off the shelves as I started screaming and hollering for the manager. People were coming around the corner looking what's going on. And I went down to the manager and said, you telling me you're not going to print my new... Oh, Coach, calm down. Coach, you're one of our best customers. Calm down. It was unbelievable. And then, of course, you know what happens, right? Other people, they're starting to do this. They don't know whether to pull them down or put them up. They don't know what to do. I left out of there and I wanted to go tackle something. I didn't know what it was. The adrenaline rush that went through me as I put that demon in her place. Oh my goodness.
Put the demon in her place, Mike.
Apparently she's a demon. Wow.
Wow. He's out of his mind.
I know demons, and that's not a demon.
He starts his program, by the way, with a prayer.
Oh boy, did you say you know this guy?
No, I'd be embarrassed if I knew him.
Okay, you were just kidding around. I got it. Okay.
No, I don't know him. Come on.
Just checking.
Come on.
I gotta ask if you're kidding or
not. Imagine if I did know him.
Imagine.
Oof. Good God. Good God. Couldn't live with myself.
Tell you one thing, I am sick of these goddamn masks, and I'm sick of hearing people like Fauci and Biden say, oh, you know what's even better? 2 masks. Go screw yourself.
I'm going to wear 5.
I'll put that damn mask on my ass.
You're going to put the mask on your ass?
Ass mask.
Might as well just put a tampon on.
Why not?
Might as well. I mean, it's all the new rage, right?
It's a new rage.
Going to the women's bathroom, wearing a dress.
Gay frogs.
Gay frogs? I mean, where does it end?
From China.
Gay frogs from China? I mean, where do we go from here?
Oh, nowhere.
Where do we really
go? We go?
Well, nowhere.
Pretty much.
Can't go anywhere.
At that point.
Right. So, Mike, how's it going? Are you doing okay? Is everything working out for you? I'm not quite sure what's going on in your life, but we do have some emails here to go over before we wrap it up here.
How's it going? I'm just been painting every day. Painting. My deadline is the end of this month to finish my canvas. And I've been making a video of my progress with the painting so that when it's all done, I'm going to put together a movie, a short film, if you will, the creation of the painting. And the end of the month is the goal.
Very nice.
And last but not least, also doing some recording for the new band that I've been doing a side project with as Momento Morte. And so got our first demo coming out. That's it.
And is everything going good with that, with your band?
Little by little. It's hard because we're from different parts of America, and I mean both South America and America. So it's not, I'm not used to the format where like I would be around somebody to actually sit down and write a piece with, like we're all in different areas. So in order to record something, it's very complicated. So that's one thing I'm learning to cope with.
Very cool, very cool. And that reminds me, I haven't fought with any other podcaster or radio personality in a while now, Myke.
Is that good or bad?
That's kind of bad. I mean, it's kind of bad. The show gets more views once I start trashing people, I've noticed.
Does it really?
Oh, yeah. The more I act out, the better it is for the program. Yeah, the last two fellas that went after me to any degree were podcasters, and that's putting it politely.
Really?
Yeah. That's putting it very politely. Not even worthy of a response because, they would never actually step up and call into the show. We are surrounded by pussies, Myke. I'm sorry. And I always get messages and threats via email, sometimes on Twitter. And I always tell those folks, don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we take calls, We want fights. Right. We want that noise here.
See, as much as I can understand what you're saying, I kind of see it as in, if these people do have a problem, number one, why are they listening? Number one. It just goes to show you people have too much time on their hand that they got to go out of their way to pretend that they're critics or journalists or just know what the hell they're talking about and then go out and say, well, I hate this guy. And you know what? If you don't like the show, don't listen to it. That's all.
Yeah, or that works too. That works too. But yeah, I noticed some of these emails and some messages that we do get from people who have complaints. They never have the balls to call in. That's what makes me so sad. It's not exactly that fun just reading emails or anything or seeing your messages. You actually calling in would be fantastic.
Yeah, it shows that you have the courage to stand up to someone if you're so passionate about how much they suck.
Right.
So,
yeah, the lack of balls, Myke. It's the lack of balls. That's what goes on.
I've had it happen too, Michael. I've gotten hate mail from people who are hardcore Misfits lovers, or even people who just hate Empire Hideous, and they just write to me like, "Oh, you suck." I'm like, "Well, then what are you listening to me for?" Well, who cares?
Yeah, but I want content. I like fights. So if you could come call in and fight with me here, that'd be fantastic. That would help the show.
So we got to get people to call in and fight with Michael.
Exactly.
Hear that, listeners?
Yeah, call in, fight with me here. That's good. Don't be a fucking
call
pussy
in and
online.
Tell him he's a gay frog.
Yeah, do something.
From China.
From China, right? I'm just sick of it. All these empty threats I get. It's you are a cock tease of sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting for all of you out there to call in. Don't just say bullshit online. Actually call in and make the show fun.
Those warriors behind their keyboard, or their computer screen.
That's right. That's right. But that's the world we live in, Myke. That is the world we live in. And Myke, I do want to continue and tell the story. Actually, maybe I should tell that story here.
What would that be?
Well, the show was being played by this gentleman in the UK. He's a program director out there.
I remember this.
You remember that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even want to tell that story now. I don't even want to tell that story now. I'm just so angry.
Screw it.
Yeah, we're just gonna end the show. Fuck this.
Screwed egg. English. Brit.
That's what.
Limey.
No, but I will say this though. I mean, I did tell him to take the show off the network, and he didn't do that for a while for whatever reason. And now, I'm not sure if he's even alive. I think he might be dead from COVID.
Get out.
No, I'm being serious. I'm being dead serious.
Was he an older person?
Yes, he was.
Oh.
So I think he's dead, dude.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah.
We don't want to have him to die.
No, I don't want him dead.
Of course.
But the funny thing is, this guy like completely hated me. He hated the show, yet he still played the show for some odd reason. So, he hated me, hated the show, but no issues replaying the show a bunch of times because it was popular, according to him.
Oh, well.
But here's the kicker, Mike.
Just don't get it.
Here's the kicker. One day, he's bringing up some other show, and I don't know anything about this show. I was just ignoring the conversation. And then he drops another show, and this time I said, yeah, that show stinks. And that host is terrible. I don't even know the guy's name. Here's the thing, Mike. I was mixing up another show for another program that he was talking about. So basically, I killed two birds with one stone. And this program director, after we had this conversation, went and told that guy what I was saying.
Uh-oh. And it was the wrong guy, though, right?
And it was the wrong guy. I didn't even know this guy's show, and he's telling him all these things that I said about him.
That's funny.
It was hilarious. I think the name of the show is called Into the Den or Den of Lore or something of that sort. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's a shit show anyways. So who gives a fuck? But yeah, I just thought that's pretty awesome. I killed two birds with one stone. I didn't even mean to bury the other guy. He just happened to sort of get caught in the crosshair there.
Oh, you did well in that conversation.
I know. He got buried so badly, and I had no idea he even existed.
Made enemies without even knowing the guy.
That's how you do it. You got to burn bridges without even knowing it. Fucking A.
Nice. So did you end up getting a hate email? Is that what you were getting into?
Yeah, it was just one of these people saying that, the show's not good and they don't like you, they don't like me now.
Yeah, is this the same person that wrote last time?
No, different person.
Oh, okay. So we're really getting out there, getting more enemies. All right.
Yeah, I like it though.
Right. We're doing something right.
I just wish they would call in. I mean, I don't like addressing these no-name shows. There are some other people out there that have talked about me. But I mean, if you are like the small autistic man from South Africa with a high-pitched voice, I'm not really interested in responding, I like to punch up, not punch down. I don't really like to pick on people that have less than, like 5 listeners. That's not fair.
That where he's from, South Africa?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not the person I'm referring to right now, though. This is a guy from America, actually. This is a guy from Kentucky.
Gay frog.
Gay frog guy. Yeah, this is a redneck. This is a redneck who listens to Bubba the Love Sponge, probably.
Oh, there you go.
Another trashy personality there.
Think?
Yeah, I'm not into that hick shit.
Whatever, like these people.
No, I'm not into that.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Bullshit.
I'm not into gay frogs either.
Yeah. Don't got time for that. But Mike, looking at the clock here, almost 3 hours. Mike, go ahead and plug away anything you'd like before we take it home here.
All right. First of all, thank you very much, Michael, for having me as your co-host tonight. I enjoyed it very much. Great show, great show, great show. Thank you to the callers. Thank you to the listeners. If you're interested in any of my artwork or photographs, you can go to what's it called again? Oh, Spyman Photo and Art.com.
Right.
Spyman Photo and Art.com. If you're interested in any of my music over the years, go to and also all kinds of new T-shirts and beach towels and blankets and pillows and all kinds of stuff, horror stuff. Go to MykeHideous.com. That is Myke, M-Y-K-E, Myke, Hideous.com. And there's also a new section from my time in the Misfits from back in 1998. There are photographs, videos, and also merchandise for sale, original merchandise for sale. And last but not least, if you'd like to contact me on the wonderful Facebook, you can reach me at facebook.com/hideous Myke, M-Y-K-E. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening tonight. I had a wonderful time. This was a great show. Thank you, Michael.
Amazing. We'll talk to you soon, my friend. Stay safe out there.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
You got it, brother. Take care.
Take care.
Mahalo. And that was the one and only Mr. Myke Hideous. I do want to thank him for being a part of the program, as well as Mr. Brad Olsen, who was also here on the first half of the program. He did a fantastic job. And before I drift off tonight, boys and girls, I do want to thank all of you out there for hanging out with us here tonight. It was a top talent program as always. Keep in mind, if you want additional content, bonus material, check out the Patreon series at patreon.com/Michael Decon. Little by little, I've been putting out shows, and lately I've noticed the guests, they all think I'm in the East Coast. I'm not sure why. I don't know why. So yes, lots of rescheduling I have to do with people that were originally going to be on the program. The Patreon series, just this week, they botched the times, but that's the way it goes sometimes, folks. Not everyone is perfect. Neither are you, neither am I. Regardless, more shows will be released. It's a pain in the ass having to reschedule these folks, but that's how it goes. Much respect to all of you listening in live, by the way, and those who tune into the podcast version of this program. You too can take this show on the road with you. Simply search Michael Decon or the Michael Decon program on all popular podcast platforms. Yes, lots of podcast platforms out there. Holy hell. It's been fun, boys and girls. We shall raise some hell soon again. Stay safe, everyone. I'm Michael Decon, reporting to you live from Hell Central, California, a place where you can go missing. And with that said, the world is a mysterious place, and life itself is a mystery. Until next time, mahalo.
think you kind of know the answer to that.
Paradox?
Yes, you discussed that with Goldberg, and he has a good finger on it.
Yes.
Hey, listen, also, beyond Von Daniken, pay attention to Whitley. Whitley is also not who he would appear to be. Be very careful of Dr. Hoagland. Hoagland has secrets. He knows things. And he hasn't even begun to indulge his treasure of secrets.
All right. I appreciate the call. Dr. Goldberg is not who he says he is. Whitley is not who he says he is. And watch out for Richard Hoagland. Earth changes, tsunamis for the Northwest sometime no later than August. Okay. Time Traveler line at area code 702-727.
Now, I can't read it. There's no words on it.
Okay. Sure.
There's no words there. To play us out. What does that mean? To play us out.
Sting is going to do. It's a video. Sting video.
What is
for credits?
I don't know what that means. To play us out. What does that mean? To end the show?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Go.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it.
Okay. In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with a. I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it, and we'll do it live. Right. Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4.
Of course, you were a headline guy.
I'm still a headline guy. You know what I mean?
For a while you popped out. Now you're coming back. For a while you were actually you were running a gym. Tell us about that.
Running a gym?
Weren't you running a gym at some point?
You're supposed to be a news guy. Where you getting your fucking
information? That's our research. You aren't.
This is ridiculous. I come on CNN and the guy don't even know what he's talking about. Go ahead.
You at no point were you running a gym?
No, running a gym. What?
No,
you need a workout or something? Jesus fucking Christ, with these guys. I come on the news for 2 seconds, and you want to say, every time I do an interview, a guy wants to open his fucking mouth. Can't even do a little fucking
thank you very much. We thought that you could hold back.
Fuck yourself, you know what?
All right. We'll go back to talking about Art Carney.